myself because I just love randomizer.
You got that 100% right. I'm in the same boat as you are. Looking at a statistical elimination, still very happy to be a part of this really fun tournament. But it looks like we're going to get started here. Our uncle text today is saying that it's going to be a sub 2 hour seed. So if those of you who have to go to work on a Sunday morning, you might have some good luck here.
Well, them being sub 2 hour seeds, they get a big 20 in the beginning here. What would you expect one of the 8 items that Uncle can give us today?
Well, so this is the randomized sword mode, so we are absolutely going to see some kind of weapon. We can either get 10 bombs, we can get the Cane of Samaria, we can get Fire Rod, we can get bow, we can get hammer. I'm hoping that they find the hammer.
Hammers are is definitely always fun to find, but I find it with escape you can easily farm bombs if needed, which is definitely fun. But its hitbox is very wanky. If you're heading north, like some, it's very small. But it looks like we get the Cane of Burna. Now I don't know about you, but Cane of Burna is a lot of fun and it's very strategic to use.
It's a fun weapon that you don't normally think about too much in the regular game. You might use it, in a couple select situations, but it is a weapon that does the equivalent of fighter sword damage. So, what our runners have to do with it is they have to be careful about how many times they start up the actual animation for it. They will run out of magic if they're careless with it.
Now, what also they need to know is that when you use the Cane of Burna, it actually pushes you north, or the enemy north. So as long as they're like against a wall or know that the enemy is gonna shoot upwards, they can use it in a very strategic manner and placement.
Now, you did make the point that we have to farm for bombs at some point. All of the enemy drops are completely randomized. They're in the same, I guess, groups called prize packs as they were in the past. Those prize pack contents are random, though. So at some point, they're going to want to use this Cane of Burna to get a bomb somewhere. We're going to need at least one through the escape.
Absolutely, and Spiffers unfortunately had to use his cane twice, thinking he hit all 3 times the blue guard, so he's running a little bit light on magic. Probably going to opt to use both pots to kill the ball and chain guard downstairs.
Yeah, that would be the sensible choice, because these pots do actually 4 damage compared to the 1 damage that a fighter sword or Cane of Burna does. It's a very useful weapon anywhere in the run, really. If you have a place where you can throw a pot and you don't have, a better weapon, absolutely worth doing. On top of that, it does cost more magic just to activate the Cane of Burna than it does to keep it active. So extra startup animations is costly to our runners here.
Now, during one of my races, I unfortunately ran out of magic because of the green guard down below. What you could know is that in the back of Escape, there is 4 pots filled with magic refills that they can use. So if they run out of magic down here, all they gotta do is leave the room and go back to reform those pots to use.
But so far, Iron manages to take care of the ball and chain guard without too much issue, finding the map next to Zelda's cell, which is great for finding your way if you don't know the dungeon, but both of our runners do know where they're going, so that's not exactly a great find. Neither of them's found a bomb drop, and they've depleted most of their magic. Spiffer's in a relatively less comfortable position right now because of how low his magic count is.
Absolutely. Hopefully he does know about those 4 mini refills in the back of Escape that he can pick up, because especially if that rat in that last room gives you some problems, it could be something you have to start and restart just to refill your magic.
I have seen a lot of people put in that position, even with bomb start itself. If you run out of ammunition or the ability to use a weapon, you can't get past that key rat. There's nothing in that room you can throw.
Absolutely, and both these runners making decent time. Unfortunately, Cane of Burna is one of the longer runs that you're going to use because of the animation waiting for it to hit. So you still can get in that 6-minute mark, and they're probably between that 6 and 7 right now, both the runners.
Yeah, judging from experience having watched the NMG run, I mean, if you're hitting that that mantle right around 4 minutes and 30 seconds, you're on a decent pace to maybe hit that 6 minutes. It's just that we know they're going to have to spend more time in the back half. So that's a very reasonable assessment to say that it's probably between 6 and 7 now.
hopefully the prize pack with these rats will be a little bit easier than the guards because they did not find the bomb. So I'm sure either the rats or the ropes in this next room that Iron's going to use, he's going to use some of his to try to get some bombs here. And I stand corrected.
I'm very surprised to not see him use them there because there are so many of those concentrated in one spot. He does get friendly RNG with the rats to stay out of his way, and he picks up his flippers. That's an interesting find early on in Escape.
Absolutely. Now it's going to make farming rupees a thing they would probably look forward for. Personally, if you can leave Escape with at least 100 rupees, so you don't have to worry about farming them for the bottle vendor in Kakariko, that's something I always like to be at. But more concerned, having early flippers could constitute a early Zora play, and he's got to watch out. He's not that much.
Wow. Iron barely manages to get with the last of his magic. That was so close.
It was very close, and unfortunately he's not going to have enough in here to farm to see if he get bombed, so we're going to see him come back to Escape. Now the interesting thing is that if they don't find a lift upgrade, and this is the last spot they come to, they're going to have to go a long way to come all the way back here.
Yeah, they would have to take the entire Escape sequence again, or at least the back half of it. So that's definitely something that if Spiffers finds a bomb in this room would be a huge advantage for him. Unfortunately, nothing in the world drops a bomb for these runners. I almost think it's got to be the tree pole at this point.
Absolutely, or the Hoarder Crab has 8 bombs in it. Alright, looks like Iron is making his way up, probably going to check these tree pulls and see what's on the Lumberjack ledge. Now, Lumberjack has two common ways of thinking. That, oh, it's 20 rupees, 4 of them. Nice pull there, but some runners like to come here only if they have the boots and it's ready, and Hoarder Crab also has 20. But I think information is definitely more plentiful than not knowing.
Yeah, and if you, for example, either of our runners were to go to Death Mountain or have access to Misery Mire, they might want to know if they need that Quake. So, I mean, it's good that Iron checked it. I also agree with that. I would much rather know, even though it's something that I can't really act on right now. If I'm going to plan to go to Aghanim anyway, say for Dark World access, that's actually really good to know early.
Absolutely, and that's got to be looming in the back of their mind, knowing that Aga can possibly be required. I know I had to do an Aga seed and it was not fun, but finding a full heart container in the mushroom spot, gonna pick it up. Getting as much early hearts as possible early on is something you want to shoot for.
Not only that, but it's also even more imperative when you don't have a better weapon. We expect to take more damage boosts when we don't have something to kind of, space ourselves away from enemies. So our runners are going to be wise to pick up this health now, rather than worrying about, hey, am I going to lose 5 or 6 seconds? No, it's worth it. All in all, though, looking like a bust here in Lost Woods. Time to find out if the town has anything good.
Yeah, if it was anything like my last seed, I think I had 5 progression items in early Kakariko. It ended up being a 2-hour and 12 minutes run because of going on, and we got blue mail. Very good to find.
Yeah, in the back of the tavern, finally finding some bombs, so we don't necessarily have to buy any yet. These 3 will be good enough to get what we need here in Kakariko, but we're definitely going to need more bombs after that. Here in the Chicken Shack, just another big 20.
Still no weapons, so gonna get some bombs. Gonna go bomb the well, but the well and Blind's Hut does have I think a combine of 11 items or 10 items they can have.
Yeah, there's quite a few in the north part of town. We're about to find out what's here in the cave. Runners like to throw a bomb there just because they can have that bomb animation explosion happen the same time you're opening a chest. Nice little time save.
That's 50 rupees so far, and we'll see what's in these 3. Another heart container, very nice. The red boomerang, and 50 more rupees. So nothing crazy, but getting that Zora money is definitely a good find.
Red Boomerang's a bit of a disappointment. Now they have to and now they have to have lag frames anytime they want to use a boomerang. That's unfortunate.
But getting a boomerang is definitely, like I said about information, you can get the stun prize. That's going to be the same for these two runners. Just be able to stun them and see what they drop, which is definitely good.
That could potentially be a really important find now that you put it that way. I hadn't considered that, but absolutely, that's definitely something that, if you have that boomerang, you should check it. We have another male upgrade here in the Thieves Hideout. This is already looking to be a pretty healthy seed.
Wow, and most of Kakariko not having much. So they have full male upgrade and still only King of Burna. So this is gonna make, he's gonna have to farm some magic, because he's gonna have to somehow kill the mini Moldorms in the mini Moldorm cave.
Yeah, there are other ways to get magic. You could kill a boss, but I mean, there's not really a boss you can go after right now. This is still so early that we don't have a weapon to fight a boss with. Although I think you actually can boomerang Armos to death. It's just that you can't get there without that bow.
And we'll probably see bomb strats most likely on mini Moldorm if they don't find another weapon before they head to the cave. So, but we're gonna see what's in library here.
I don't know if you saw it.
I did. That was the hook shot. Hook shot on library. So now we know that the boots are going to unlock potentially 2 items in the hook shot and the Quake medallion.
Well, so if somebody had skipped that check of Lumberjack Cave, they wouldn't know just how important boots are. They would think they're just looking for the hook shot for that. So, I mean, that's several items already we know that we need those boots for. I have to think you're going to find it pretty quickly in the seed. Hobo is a possibility.
Absolutely, and I would hope so you find those boots. But now, Iron saw that there was a full heart container in race game, opting not to go grab it. Personally, we get a map check, and Eastern's vanilla green pendant, and I think Hera was a crystal, and I did not see what desert was.
Well, speaking of bomb strats and mini Moldorms, looks like Iron's having a little bit of difficulty with the ones on the left and right. One thing you can do if you're really having some trouble with it is you can actually walk along the bottom ledge of the room and just do the suicide strats to walk right into it. But he does manage to pull it off, still has some spare bombs to check Ice Rock Cave and other locations. So with the bottle, though, the green goo, and the mirror, wow. We can at least check Sick Kid, but mirror is definitely a good find.
Absolutely, and I was going to get to a point that Spiffers just went and did the racing game. During races, personally, myself, I like to just do it and get it over with, and then if I need the item, I'll grab it. I think it's worth the bomb loss of throwing against the wall there, because now he has another piece of heart. He's up to 8 full heart containers.
Kind of a tough call to make, because, you know, if you only have bomb and Burna to work with and no magic, you know, it depends, I guess, on how comfortable you feel with your bomb strats. If you do feel comfortable with it, yeah, 1000%, absolutely worth doing it just to not have to worry. Ooh, and crabs are telling Iron, no, you're going to waste an extra bomb on this Ice Rock Cave.
Yeah, and he gave a little frustration slashes there while he was bombing that wall, so definitely, I know I would be upset if those crabs got in my way, and just a single rupee for his troubles there.
Would you call those frustration punches?
Yeah, definitely. He was punching the air.
Yeah, not a welcome find getting that single green rupee, the worst value anybody's found in a while for that.
Oh, and Spiffers is making the west play here. He's going to check what's in Agana's cave and on the ledge.
Yeah, I mean, he's already made the choice to commit to all the items over here by Dam, and it's basically a 50-50 coin flip. You know, am I going to check Agina's cave or am I going to check Ice Rock Cave before the save and quit? So it makes sense. He has the bombs to check it. It's just a low percentage check for most folks. We already know, though, that we're running low on things we need for progression, so this looks on our end like a good decision.
Absolutely.
But we don't know yet.
But we're about to find out here, and we'll see what's here, and just another piece of heart.
Well, with the Mire and Burna, we still have Sick Kid, and that's pretty likely at this point. We can also check Waterfall Cave, because that is in the logic with those flippers.
Oh, most definitely. And Spiffer's actually probably going to make the Eastern play here. We do know that Eastern is the vanilla, but he stands corrected and he's going to go down below and get to Hobo and check what's on the Hylia Island here.
That's an easy one for folks to forget. It's just so easy to not check it. But if there's something of critical value there, you know, if we didn't have the mirror, for example, it would be really bad to miss that check. So very good for Iron to take a look at that, even though it's only 300 rupees. Great peace of mind.
Nothing in Waterfall. So we're running out of very few spots here. We have Eastern and Sahashla's hut. He's gonna go check here what Zora has. Other than that, we're running low.
And that's an interesting scenario to be in. There's no bomb upgrade that we can buy there. But what if we ended up needing Zora himself? Our runners might be trying to fish for some rupees at that point. I get the feeling, though, that both of our runners will make their way to Eastern to check Sahasrahla in the area before they do much of anything else at this point.
Oh, absolutely, they're gonna make that check. But if they're gonna have to farm rupees, if the runners do know their dark rooms, they can get, I think, 90 rupees in the back room of Eastern. Otherwise, they're gonna have to go to Kakariko.
Yeah, all of those options are very slow, so neither of them necessarily are going to go there first. They're going to try and exhaust as many options available to them as possible. Now, it is entirely possible for us to find both bow and lamp in Eastern Palace. I mean, there are 2 items that we can get. So, I mean, that is a way that we could get the green pendant and then the rest of the progression. Kind of interesting to see what we're going to end up with here.
It'd actually be interesting if we have the vanilla bow to lead to the vanilla boots.
That would be absolutely hilarious. But short of that, we do have a hammer in the back of Sahasrahla's hut, so a lot of those questions just got answered.
Alright, having the hammer is definitely good, but still not much progression-wise. We don't have the Moon Pearl, we don't have a lift upgrade, they can't really access Dark World, but at least they have a weapon now that does tempered sword damage in their arsenal. But like I said earlier, the hitbox is a little bit wanky with the hammer.
Yeah, and it's absolutely, like you mentioned, the tempered sword damage, it is a very strong weapon. So for most of the run, even if we didn't pick up a sword for a while, we would be pretty set as far as damage goes, depending on how our runners are with the very wonky hitbox that we're talking about with the hammer. It's very small and very close to the body.
And like these mini Moldorms, he's using, he hasn't made it up there, but if they have to go up against Moldorms, like if they go up to Tara Hera, using a hammer on them is near impossible because of their movement.
Some folks in chat bringing up that the Houlihan room setup is actually very difficult with flippers. There's one setup that most people know that you can only do if you don't have flippers. That's another interesting piece of knowledge that could separate our runners if Zora has a progression item. If they end up having to farm for rupees, someone who can get to Houlihan using a different route would have a significant advantage. Although we do see SpifferstheGrand trying to use the bush crab to the hoarder to get some extra rupees. That's a pretty smart choice.
Oh, absolutely. Knowing that you potentially can get, I think, 120 rupees out of him, easy farming.
Oh, so it had a little bit of a drop on my side, but it looks like there was a flute in Eastern Palace, so that does give us some of our progression.
And actually, that gives us full Death Mountain besides Dark Death Mountain, because with the hammer and Mire in play, we can get all to the right side.
Yeah, at this point, we're just looking for lift upgrades in order to get to Dark Death Mountain. We were going to need Titan's Mitts in order to access the East Dark Death Mountain. We can get to Spike Cave without, though.
Well, with the hammer in play, they just got to go up to Hera and hammer the pegs over and make his way on the other side. They just can't do Dark, obviously, without the lift upgrades, but they can at least get to Paradox Cave.
Yeah, so there's a wealth of information available to Iron right now that Spiffers has no idea about, probably presuming that there's something in Eastern. but like we said before, we're going to exhaust all the checks. So activating Flute also gives Iron an opportunity to check the Sick Kid, which is interesting. But we're seeing Iron right now opting to dive further into Eastern Palace, trying to complete the whole dungeon. Maybe thinking that the bow could be locked behind the lamp on the mountain. And if that's the case, this would be a really clutch decision, but it's kind of a gamble.
Well, absolutely, and doing dark rooms always are nice if you know the logic, but if you break the logic, that sequence break can stir you in directions that maybe push you away, and Zora has the lift upgrade.
Well, that's an excellent find for Spiffers, because it's very unlikely that Iron's going to come back here for a while. I mean, with access to Death Mountain, there's a lot of things we can check. And if we find another lift upgrade on Death Mountain, that's even more things. And then let alone escape items that neither of our runners had the opportunity to check.
Oh, I totally forgot about this. Having the lift upgrade in hand, he's gonna easily go check the escape items. See how easily you forget? Just commentating. I totally forgot they didn't grab those items.
Well, to be fair, they have taken divergent routes early on, so we're going to find out here what's in the back half. Alright, so a little bit of lagginess with Spiffer's stream. I want to say I saw bombs and rupees. I didn't see the first item, though.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Hopefully we'll get an item check here at some point.
Looks like Iron's going to activate that flute, though, with quite a head start as far as world exploration goes. Having checked most of, well, pretty much everything Spiffers has. I don't think Iron checked Agina's cave at this point, though.
He did not, and Iron is also going to be able to check what Sick Kid has for us as well.
All rise for your national anthem.
Give you salutes in chat.
And with that, the goose is loose.
Now, with the flute in hand, Iron can make quick work, could easily fly to 7, get to Agina a little faster, could make his way up to, obviously, Death Mountain, which I'm sure that play is going to be. Sick just getting a little bit of his love, you know. He's not feeling well, he just can wish you good luck.
Certainly a welcome find, though. It's also information, so you don't have to worry about that. Iron, first thing on the mountain, is going to check the old man immediately in the dark. Being the real bro or real gentleman by doing so, because that old man can't see anything in here.
Yeah, absolutely. And making quick work, he's able to use his boomerang for help here. Personally, without a sword, I usually get a little lost myself, but having that that boomerang in hand is really helpful for him.
It's also extra nice because you can kind of see the distance better with the sparkles that surround it. You know, that's kind of a better sight line. When it's just the regular boomerang, it doesn't go as far, and you can't always tell exactly how much you're clinking on things. Certainly a theme of NPCs giving us heart pieces this run. That's pretty much all we found from most of them besides Zora.
And interesting, these sequence breaks not really doing anything for these runners. So just getting the compass out of the big key chest in Eastern and just a piece of heart from the old man without the lamp in tow.
Top of Spectacle Rock just gonna be a 10 bomb stack, nothing of real value right there. And Spectacle Rock Cave, only a big 20, so 10 and 20 not doing much for anything for Iron, so the decision at this point seems to be to go to Hera.
Absolutely, going to Hera is nice. It is completable with the well, if the basement's not required, but at least with the hammer in tow, they can easily get Helmasaur. It's late for me. I apologize. Moldorm down, but something of note. Maybe they'll find the 2 items in here fast, or maybe it's locked downstairs in the basement.
First thing Iron sees walking in is a reminder that we don't have a sword. Tried to punch the switch, that didn't work. Finding compass in the basement means we have to find some kind of key in this chest in the center here to progress. We're guaranteed to get some kind, whether that's the big key or the small key.
And for his sake, I hope it's the big key, and it is, so he can at least go upstairs and hope that nothing's in the basement.
Yeah, there's still a map out there that we don't know about, so that map would be what would determine for us whether or not this is going to be fire locked. Kind of interesting that Iron chose to skip that big 20 now that we know that the lift upgrade is actually behind Zora himself. Will probably be pretty angry with himself about that one.
Oh, absolutely. You know, anytime you're below Zora and you know you have Zora in the back of your mind, you gotta go for it.
Well, we're gonna get a bomb jump here in Tower of Hera. This is actually a very difficult bomb jump to do swordless and bootless because the setup, you have to be 2 pixels away from the edge of the gap in order to make it across. Looks like Iron pulled it off. That's actually a lot harder than most jumps are, and with a sword in the chest, what a great find.
Absolutely, and nice like validation that yes, I got the bomb jump. So give me a sword, and I'll make Moldorm up here just a little bit more bearable.
Yeah, interestingly enough, if Iron wanted to, could hold the sword out to try to make sure he doesn't fall off the ledge, and could go for sword strats for safety instead. But with the hammer equipped, I think the goal here is to try and get hammer hits. Only taking 3 to take down Moldorm, and you skip the enraged phase.
Absolutely. What you really want to do is most runners shy away from Moldorm when he starts, but if you're closer to him, the movements that he does make it a little bit easier for a hitbox for his tail. But nonetheless, gets him down 3 hits and gets the map, so there is an item in the basement.
Yeah, we got some courtesy rage slashes after that kill because that is exactly the last thing Iron wants to see. Perhaps even having skipped a fire item in his mind, maybe even at Zora, potentially where he might have thought it would be, or even on the other side of Death Mountain. So we're going to definitely waste some time to come back here, but whether or not that's worth it remains to be seen.
At least it's just gonna nag him in the back of his mind, trying to remember. But we got, I think, 7 chests here on between Paradox Cave and everything you can check in this back. And he chooses not to see what's on the floating island.
Could potentially be hoping out for or holding out for a lift upgrade here on Death Mountain, and then making a check of what Turtle Rock's actual pendant will be. That's a long shot in my eyes, but maybe doesn't worry about it too much until he can get Dark World access anyway. That's hard to say. But it looks like Spiffers has turned in the sick kid and is now heading towards Death Mountain, getting the old man item right now.
Absolutely, and oddly enough, Iron saw that he got a full magic drop, but already had full magic in his arsenal. So going back for the full magic and having full magic, but opting to not get that 20 rupees, interesting route, interesting decisions from him.
Yeah, it's always a high pressure situation to be doing a restreamed race. I oftentimes, whenever I'm on the big stage, which is a couple times so far, it's kind of nerve wracking. It's very easy to kind of make in the moment decisions that you'll regret later.
I know, I'm preaching to the choir myself here, making some weird decisions, and gets the Moon Pearl. Very nice find, but still, with Moon Pearl, you still need at least the lift upgrade. He does not know that the lift upgrade is on Zora, so...
Yeah, that's a pretty rough break, because you're definitely going to have to go the long way back up the mountain next time around. Well, you could use the hook shot, though. So yeah, actually, we have some... Oh, we need boots. We need the boots to get that hook shot.
So fortunately, Spiffer's gonna have a little bit easier time going here because he'll have the lift upgrade. Nothing on Dark Death Mount he can get, and nothing really of consequence in here, but does get a 300 rupee, is able to now go to Zora, which most likely he will.
Well, I mean, except for the best meringue.
Of course.
Well, that Bloomerang makes a lot of very important swag strategies possible, but it doesn't do much of anything else beyond that. We can use it to kill Armos, but again, we still need a bow just to get there. So, not quite a very valuable find. We do get our first shield on the floating island, so that is some information that would be relevant. If for any reason either of these runners can't do the laser bridge skip in Turtle Rock, that is one reason they could potentially pick up that shield.
But also, that being said, they do have Cane of Burna, so Laser Bridge is in logic for them no matter what. But Iron getting the notion and knowing that he does not have a lift upgrade, cannot lift that rock. And I'm not sure if there is you can't get up this way, so unfortunately.
No, that's a easy mistake to make. Because I mean it's a river, it flows all the way through, right? And then you remember, oh wait, that's actually a waterfall, and that is not Waterfall Cave. Though Iron didn't waste any extra time, didn't try swimming all the way back, so didn't really spend much time doing that. Not a very large error in the grand scheme of things. In the meantime, though, Spiffers will be taking on Moldorm in a moment. I didn't see if he did the bomb jump. It looks like he didn't because he's going for the drop down the hole, which is a very safe way to get to that item.
Absolutely, and all in all, I think the bomb jump only saves maybe 4 or 5 seconds, so not too much overall. So, the largest scheme of things, not much to worry about.
Yeah, certainly not when you don't have boots and a sword to work with. At least until you get that chest. Well, it looks like Iron is trying to figure out what else could be missing. Gonna check Agina's cave and see what the desert ledge was, which was just rupees. Still has to go turn in Zora. Is probably gonna do that absolutely last if possible.
Which unfortunately for him is gonna know that the play he's gonna have to make. So when Spiffers gets over to East Death Mountain, he's gonna find his Moon Pearl and realize he has Dark World access.
Chat's pointing out that Spike Cave is now technically in the logic. For Spiffers, it is. For Iron, we don't have that Power Glove yet, so until we have that, he's not going to even think about going there.
Absolutely, Spiffers is going to have to either use his green magic or find a magic drop in order to use it, though. I don't know, Iron wanted to get his fortune read.
Yeah, I think he meant the shop on the right here, so he's going to go just down the strip mall to go to this store instead. Probably should have read the signs up front. The one that had the shield on it clearly indicates that they sell bombs there. That's a joke, it's honestly. I have no idea why they put shields in front of that.
But here they go, they're going to make their way up finally to Zora and find that that's the play they need to make.
I like the decision to use this whirlpool. I mean, you can get around the, or no, you can't get around the actual rock there in the path to Zora's. So, not wasting any time by using a flute on accident. That was a smart decision.
Absolutely, it's the only way up there at the moment. So, but they're gonna feel happy, finally get their lift upgrade. And I can imagine they either flute to 4, do South Dark World, or go right to Dark Kakariko.
Well, we're about to find out in a moment. Spiffers is very quickly cleaning up the rest of just East Death Mountain, not Dark Death Mountain. But with East Death Mountain cleared and Hera being completed, there's not a whole lot else to go for. Now that Iron has that pair of power gloves, that one relic from NES days back in the day, Nintendo, you never released enough of them. He's going to save and quit to Sanctuary, and we'll see where he's going from here.
Iron, I like that, the heads-up play, knowing that Sanctuary is still considered a dungeon and will bring you to the entrance. And he's going to also check Escape here, because he hasn't done that yet. So just picking up some here.
Yeah, so we didn't get a good look at what these items were before, so now we finally get to figure out exactly what it is. It should have all been junk, though, as far as we know. The biggest of 20s.
Yeah, it's a 20 rupee bomb sandwich.
Is that like a bomb pop?
or like the firecracker ice pops.
I dig it. I dig it. That's a better one. Well, so now that we have the hammer and a lift upgrade, Iron's going to make a quick check of Hype Cave here in Dark World, Overworld. This is actually not a bad spot to find items at this point. There are not that many places that we can access cleanly, besides, say, like Village of Outcasts. So this is a very high item density choice.
Absolutely, and I can imagine the choice to do it this way is that they can rope in Pyramid Ledge and maybe Catfish if they feel frisky about it. But we'll see.
Wow, so that Cane of Samaria is definitely a good find. They don't have half magic to kind of spam it, but that is another weapon and another progression item for several dungeons and parts of the world. However, not much else in Hype Cave, so the Cane of Samaria Cave, probably more valuable, I would think, than the Cane of Burna Cave. We don't know that just yet, but Dark World map check.
Alright, so Skullwoods is one of the 5-6 crystals. I think Turtle Rock was a pendant. I didn't see what the other 5-6 crystal was.
Yeah, same here. I believe Turtle Rock was the pendant because I didn't see anything elsewhere in the world that looked like that. So we're going to be seeing a lot of the Dark World this seed.
Oh, the fire rod. Stumpy is holding on to that, hoping that no one will burn him up, so keeping that and hoarding it for himself.
Yeah, we had to pull him away from it. He was looking at it all shifty like, and we're like, Stumpy, you got plenty more years in your life. Don't go burning yourself out. And so yeah, we're going to save the tree, Pinocchio himself. Cave 45, not of value. Looks like both of our runners are there at the same time. Interesting high five here through the portals.
Absolutely, and it's an interesting routing choice. You know, you can come this way, check 3 items, or you can head east and check potentially, you know, a good 7 items, depending if you want to rope in pod. But nonetheless, if they want to mirror and just go into Kakariko and go back north to that route, that works too. So either route the runners can do. Personally, I probably would have went right, but that might be why I am 1 and 4. But the boots.
Yeah, that ended up being a very good find. It also routes very nicely too, because you know you're right about going either left or right from that portal. That's the right place to start. Now that he has access to this, though, we have access to the hook shot just mere meters away after a portal. I'm glad. Iron forgot it, or not. Getting trolled here.
Just had to remind himself.
Well, Boing 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 did not forget the hook shot. Looks like Spiffers is immediately going to do the exact same thing.
Well, that being said, that puts Swamp Palace in logic. Swamp Palace technically does have the most amount of items densely in a dungeon. It has 6, and Iron might be making that play right now.
You see a lot of folks in Randomizer avoid it like the plague, but you're absolutely right about 6 items. I mean, people want to go mode this dungeon desperately, but you can get a lot here, and already having the hook shot makes it a much more appealing option. Fully completable now that we have the hook shot, but also considerably less time intensive to check the left side if you were going to.
Now, oddly enough, I'm of the mindset to leave left side for last, but my race this week, I'm like, you know what? That might be the reason why I lost. And I went left side, didn't go right side, didn't skip it, didn't have an item, and I lost by like 2 minutes. And that could have been it.
That's a frustrating way to have it happen. My condolences. That's rough. I had the same thing happen to me with an escape item I couldn't get. It looks like Thieves Town is going to be our pendant, though.
Yes, Thieves Town's dependent. All right, so then we know that Turtle Rock is in logic. So we're still looking. We're looking for quite a few. We didn't see obviously what Turtle Rock's medallion is, but we need the bow. We need Ice Rod. Potentially 1 or 2 medallions. I don't know how well the runners know all of the dark rooms, but we might need the lamp. You
know, something else just occurred to me too. Iron here is looking for the item density, but we're kind of under-equipped for Argus. We're going to be in a menu simulator boss if we don't find a sword upgrade or two, probably, honestly.
Well, absolutely. Now, for Iron's sake, because they did find the map in that first chest, this is the point where I definitely would make the left play, knowing that at least one item is there.
Yep, there's going to be 2 useless items in every dungeon, the map and the compass, and then all the chests that remain are either big key or items, so we can use power of deduction, for those of you who aren't as familiar with how we're making these decisions, to know that there's at least one item, whether it's valuable or not, on the left side, since there's 2 total items over there.
And Spiffer's making the Skull Woods play here. Definitely, it is beatable, but personally, with Fighter Sword, a Hammer, and just not even half magic on Mothula, it's a difficult fight.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of people resort to using Fire Sword spins against the boss with Mothula. But honestly, they have a green goo from earlier when they got that bottle, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him just go full Fire Rod.
Which definitely, because technically, Moth... Oh, Iron found the Master Sword in Swamp. Very nice find. Mothula takes 8 Fire Rod hits, so it is a full magic bar. But having that Mummy Room right beforehand is definitely something that can minimize your Fire Rod usage.
Yeah, and it's extremely slow to kill those Gibdos with Fighter Sword, so, you know, he's probably going to fill up... Oh, wow, that full magic drop, though. And another!
It's just toying with him, knowing that these guys probably won't drop a full magic now.
Exactly that.
So, with that in mind, he does have 3... It looks like, I think, 3 shots with the Fire Rod right now without use of the potion.
And that small magic pot will make it 4. So the extra difficult thing about this is that you can't really afford to have Mothula bounce off of the corners and have the damage overridden by spikes. I mean, Fire Rod does tend to pull him off the wall, so that does help. But you have to be very judicious about your shots.
And having red mail, what I would do is just hug Mothula himself, because I believe he only does half a heart of damage with red mail, but those spikes will do a full heart, so trying to stay away from them is the key for this fight, I think, for him.
Looks like we have a shovel here in the left side of Swamp, so this fetch quest may prove valuable and might not. If it ends up being a goose chase alongside that 50 rupees, then Iron might be mad he went left in the first place.
But see, there was 2 items on that left side nonetheless. Good play by him, heads up, because if you would have made his way to the back, he would have found the compass and knowing that 2 items was there, so he wouldn't have to double him.
Looks like Spiffers really doesn't want to use the potion, but with half a heart left, doesn't really have a choice. You know, he's gotta... Ooh, uh-oh.
Unfortunately, it takes the death to Mothula, but you know what? Mothula is one of the easier bosses to get to, so he'll just probably make his way back. Gonna check this item first, don't blame him.
Yeah, for all he knows, it could be a sword upgrade or, you know, maybe even half magic. Definitely worth checking. Ooh, the big key, so now has a reason to check the big key chest and come back to here. But is going to go right for Mothula himself instead. The one thing that's difficult about this is that there's only so much magic you can pick up. He's going to have to resort to lamp strategy and also killing those Gibdos with, you know, just a fighter sword. That's kind of difficult.
Yeah, unfortunately, doesn't have lamp, so going to have to... Oh, he's gonna hammer him. Definitely doable. I think they take 4 hammer hits, but they are a pain.
And he gets grabbed. That does give him a chance to get more magic, though.
What he could do also, if he knows there is that bombable room over by where the vanilla big key is, that he could get a full magic drop. It is going to take a little time to work the way back there, but at least it is a full magic refill.
And on top of that, if you were already going to be going back for the big key, or the big key chest room, that would be a good reason to be back that direction anyway. With the Cane of Samaria, it's not as hard to check.
But opting to just use the mirror, reload the dungeon, get these other couple little pots, not a bad idea. Easily can refill enough here for it. Meanwhile, Iron about to go to his Argus fight. With that Master Sword in hand now, it is going to make it a little bit easier on him.
Yeah, and we won't have to hit many throughout this. I mean, you could use the hammer, but at this point, 2 slashes isn't really that hard. Now, one way you can speed up the fight is you can grab more than 1 puff at a time by strafing a little bit while having your sword out. Looking like we're just going to go for 1 at a time just to be safe. Not a bad idea at all. Perfectly valid way to do the fight.
Oh, absolutely. And with Red Mail, he can be judicious and just let him hit him if he wants to. But still a quick fight, nonetheless, about to get into phase 3 of it.
Perfect. Looks like we're going to switch to Fire Rod, going for the quick kill. You can't do the quick kill with just Master Sword, but you can at least get a couple of extra shots with Fire Rod. Just as a reminder, if you didn't know, folks, you do get a full magic refill when you kill a boss, so it's very worth it to use all of your magic if you can. Looks like Spiffers is going to use that magic refill against Mothula. It's a smart decision, but we are a little low on health, though, so you gotta be careful here. Wow, with 1 heart left, he pulls it off.
Very good, though. Oh, unfortunately, just a big 20 for his troubles, but that is the second item. So he didn't waste the time going all the way over and trying to figure out what was in the big key. So good on him then.
Yeah, so his strategy of resetting the dungeon to get those magic pots was not a complete waste. It was, you know, that time was well spent compared to walking back. I wouldn't know necessarily if that's faster, but at least it wasn't, you know, excessively wasteful.
And Iron, with that shovel in hand, is going to check what it's going to merit him here.
Well, it can't be the flute. Let's see what we get from the dirty patch here in the forest. It is just a big old 5.
So just a total of 25 rupees from the left play. Definitely not required. And I was say, are we gonna get? We can't get. We could get an ice palace. So let's say we're gonna get an ice palace play here.
To appear that Iron is going to. Oh wow, Bumper Cave has the Book of Medora.
Okay, that's an interesting find because now we know potentially cape is required depending on if something's on book. Is on one of the. Oh my God.
The tablets.
Thank you. Late night, folks. Late night.
Took me a second too. I'm like, wait a second, not the pedestal. Although, if one of our runners finds the cape, I have to think that they're going to go do that. You know, I mean, if it's a book, I don't know though. Would you grab the book?
If I had cape in hand right there, I definitely would grab the book. Depending on where I find the cape later in game, it would lead me to something different, maybe. But it's always going to be in the back of my mind. But Spiffers is doing north of Graveyard here, checking what's available for him.
Yeah, in the meantime, Iron will make his way through Skull Woods with a little bit better weaponry, but here in the Graveyard Ledge, we're about to find out what we got here. Ooh, silver arrows. Wow, what a find.
Nice routing by Spiffers, using that Skullwoods play and checking what's on Bumper Cave and leading it this way. Hopefully Iron will make the same play, but finding early silvers is always reassuring to these runners.
But there's still King's Tomb, and that would be a crazy place to find the bow. Long shot that it is, but you know, right next to those silvers would have been nice. Instead, we get the big 20. There are a lot of places in the world that the bow can be at this point, though, and that is one of the required items. Beyond that, we know that we're going to need the ice rod for Turtle Rock, and then whatever medallions we need, but we're running low on items that we finally have to find to hit go mode. We were looking a lot more disparate and a lot less collected not 15 minutes ago.
Absolutely, and that makes logically, besides Villager Outcast here, Thieves Town, I think, potentially needs to have an item. Besides Ice Palace, they can go into Ice Palace.
Yeah, it's true. We do have the Fire Rod now. Definitely a rough thing to have to do with Master Sword, Fighter Sword, respectively. Thieves Town seeming like a pretty sensible place to check for an item here.
It can always make the potential pod dip if need be as well.
The pod's a tough one with no lamp and no bow. I mean, some people aren't worried too much about, you know, having a lamp or not, but with having no bow, that's, you know, not an easy choice to make. Plus, you probably want a potion if you're going to go in there bowless.
And absolutely, and it's interesting to note that if you're new to Randomizer and watching, this game is almost 30 years old, and just this year we found a glitch in this game that lets you open up a door without the bow and pod. Obviously, it wouldn't be useful back then, but finding something almost 30 years after is definitely something to note.
Ooh, looks like Iron did not have enough magic in order to finish up the mummy room, so Iron has to come back for magic, actually. That's a rough situation, just one torch short. If we had a lamp, that wouldn't have been an issue, but really nothing you can do in that position.
But Spiffer is finding a bee in the bottle here in Thieves Town. Would probably wish he had that beforehand, because oddly enough, Mothiel is the only boss that a bee in the bottle can really hurt.
And it's going to opt to take a magic refill and a blue potion, since we don't really need any other rupees at this point besides Palace of Darkness. Definitely smart to refill and then get your potion.
Spiffer's unfortunately trying to find that god pistol, not getting it, getting a little hammered here in this hallway.
Yeah, the Coveted God Pixel is a very nice, execution thing to pull off, but it does depend on enemy RNG as well, so sometimes you get it and you're just ruined. Iron was smart to hold on to the portal from before, so Iron can now actually go directly back to the entrance of, or the back entrance of Skull Woods without doing any long routing. I didn't see the first chest in Thieves Town because a slight frame drop on Spiffer's screen, but we are still going to the basement at this point. There are a couple more items. We'll find out whether or not he's going to go all the way to blind, and we can kind of rule out what that first chest was.
Yeah, I unfortunately only saw the bee in the bottle, so we'll see going forward what we have here.
In the meantime, looks like Iron did make it all the way to Mothiel, getting bunny beamed, actually, showing us the dark version of that sprite. But with the full blue potion, we'll see if Master Sword's enough to take down Mothiel. Looks like it's just 50 rupees in the basement of Thieves Town before the maiden. We're gonna check the maiden next. Meanwhile, Iron's still working out this boss, but down to 3 hearts. Probably gonna see that potion get used. Ooh, but the spin is enough to finish him. Now, we didn't see a save and quit or any kind of mirror out of Spiffers, so it does look like the last item in this dungeon for Thieves Town is going to be behind blind. We're going to see a blind fight today.
And oddly enough, Blind is the only boss in the game that has exactly 9 HP, and no matter what weapon you use, it will be exactly 1 HP per hit. So having either the regular sword, which he has, or he could use the Cane of Samaria, or he can use the Cane of Brian, or he can use the hammer, it'll be the same fight every time. And if he knows the script, which trying to stay on it as much as possible, getting off a little bit, you'll be able to do it.
Yeah, the key to the fight is to always hit blind at the first possible moment, because that'll keep you on that quote-unquote script. Spiffers had no major issues besides, you know, oh wow, we that's the Titan's mitts in Skull Woods.
Then I must have miscounted. I thought I saw the second item. So Spiffers probably miscounted, not knowing that the lift upgrade's there.
That's a very important development, and there are certain things that we have walked away from because of items. Like, for example, Tower of Hera basement is something that our runners haven't done yet. Spiffers may end up checking several different locations like that before ever thinking about Skull Woods again.
Wow, I'm actually shocked.
Yeah, that's a crazy development. So at this point, it's, you know, Iron's got a gigantic advantage to work with here. Although there are so many more things that Iron can check, if Spiffers was limited to 1 or 2 locations at some point ahead, that would be an opportunity to kind of make a better decision out of a large, you know, pool of them. But we also know that Iron's already done Swamp Palace, so this is a really rough spot for Spiffers to be in.
Chad is asking why people are shocked. I'm shocked because I miscounted. I'm usually pretty decent, especially just watching, counting items, so I'm shocked that I missed it. And unfortunately, if Spiffers must have miscounted as well, that's why I'm shocked.
Well, he will go into Swamp Palace, which we know is required. We didn't find a whole lot of important items besides the Master Sword, but that Master Sword is definitely a good find. It's good that he's going to go to this dungeon at this point. If you're familiar with the vanilla game, this is kind of what you would normally have as far as equipment goes besides the red nail. You would normally have the Master Sword and you'd have a hammer. You'd pick up the hookshot in this dungeon. In the meantime, though, Iron's going to go check everything on the east side of Village of Outcasts, including the blacksmith and the hammer peg cave.
Not a bad find. You get a plethora of items here. Only bombs and peg cave, but also now has full eastern Dark Death Mountain available to him.
And this also means we can check the Mire area as well, so we're going to be able to find out all of our required medallions at this point. Looks like we got some Aerosmiths today. Some great bands here in Kakariko playing for the Hyrule Fair. That's not the same old song and dance, though, is it?
Alright, we got Gary's lunchbox here. We'll see what's available to him. Iron, knowing that he did the south route already, is just going to flute to 7 and go right there.
Yeah, one of the best things about having the flute with the follower is this becomes trivial.
But interesting to note, Iron did not do the north check, so does not know that Book is on Bumper Cave Ledge. All right, and we are getting the Mire check here.
What's in the shed today? Ooh, we have Bombos as the required medallion for Misery Mire, so that's some knowledge.
And just 40 rupees in the shed. Interesting to note, if this becomes a pendant seed, we would not only have to do Aga, but we also need to find that cape. Because it's possible that Quake might be needed, depending on where we're going. But interesting to note, just to have that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, there's a potential for a lot of fetching in this seed. Long daisy chain of choices that'll lead us to eventually where we want to go. But it all depends, I guess, at this point on one, if we have something important at pedestal, which is a limited pool of items, could be Ice Rod actually, or if we end up needing that Quake medallion.
Absolutely. We know Desert Palace is beatable now because of the myths, the Titan's myths being in Skull Woods. So the only other item needed to beat all the pendant dungeons is the bow.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we are crossing the hour mark here, and we still have not found that bow. So, and we have no idea where it even is. So, bows, bowstrings, anything like that. We have plenty of arrows and silvers even on one screen.
Oh, it looks like we might be having the Ice Palace play by Iron here. Don't mind this play. It is a crystal. It has 3 potential items in it.
While it might be a little slow to wind through the dungeon in the various places where you can find the items, it's definitely a place where you don't want to miss an item either, because getting back into this dungeon, getting to the right places, remembering which ones you missed, very frustrating. Most people, if they're going to clear most of the dungeon or get all the items, they're going to full clear the entire thing.
And absolutely, and most runners want to just go mode this dungeon. You do not need to find the big key or anything, as long as you know the bomb jump. But if you're gonna full clear this dungeon, oddly enough, either doing the bomb jump or not doing the bomb jump, it doesn't really save too much time. Oh, but the bow is in Ice Palace.
Immediately paying off for this decision. So with the bow, we don't have silver arrows yet on Iron screen. Remains to be seen if we're actually going to make that check to north side. I would think that if we find the cape, that's probably the first thing that would send Iron there.
Absolutely, but we'll see if Iron decides to do the bomb jump here. Nice boomerang strats by Iron to hit that hit the switch. I haven't seen that before, so glad I saw it there.
Had a little bit of bad luck with the Stealthos Knights in the next room. There's an interesting thing you can do in this room. If you can throw a pot at the bottom one towards the top one, while the top one's collapsed, you can actually kill them both with one bomb. The way those Stealthos Knights work is kind of weird. Once one of them is collapsed, they're both vulnerable to bombs, because it's shared based on the entire room itself. Once one of them stands back up, they both become invincible, even if one of them's collapsed. So a weird thing you might want to know, but we got the bomb jump here. And in one try.
Absolutely. Using a strat that I have not perfected myself yet, but if you're sword spinning and move to the ledge and let go of your sword as you get to that last ledge, it will put you on the exact pixel in that frame each time.
Yep, Link can't actually do a sword spin or release a sword spin unless he's on ground that he can stand on. So you can abuse that to make sure that you're as close to the ledge as possible every single time. But the timing's kind of weird. You have to get used to using it. I'm the same way you are. I don't pull that off regularly yet, but definitely a good thing to have in your back pocket. Well, we found the map. We haven't found the big key yet, though, have we?
No, we haven't found the big key. And enough to think here is that not having half magic, not having Bombos medallion, only having Massive Sword and the Fire Rod, this could be a very finicky Cold Stare fight. He does have those safeties in the potions, but very hard fight nonetheless.
This is a situation where I would recommend people use the sword beam strats. If you're not familiar, folks out there, there's a way you can fight Cold Stare with regular magic meter. If you line up your sword beams, you have to have full health to do this. With your fire rod shots on the shell, it'll actually count the sword beams as an extra hit on the shell. So you can use half as much magic to destroy it and still carry half your magic meter into the rest of the fight. It's a great way if you don't have a lot of backup potions to try and get some extra shots in on Cold Stare when you have an underpowered sword.
Absolutely, I personally haven't done that strat yet myself, but Iron's got to watch out. Now is only at 2.5 hearts in here.
Yeah, there are some fairies you can pick up right before the boss, but you got to make it there first, and there's still quite a few items, locations that we can stop by, or at least quite a few rooms that we have to go through that are dangerous. He's already taken another heart damage.
And because of the key logic in this dungeon, it is hookshot required, so it would have been locked behind the boots, even though they found the boots earlier, but they did find the flippers early on and wouldn't have been able to finish the dungeon nonetheless without bomb jumps and logic.
Yeah, so Eastern has not been completable until we've made it to Skull Woods and to Zora. What an interesting progression. Looks like Spiffers has kept in mind what the red pendants are, though, or red crystals are, and he's going to check Pyramid.
Nice heads up play by him. He's going to be able to check what's on Pyramid Ledge here, and I would imagine rope in Catfish also.
I'm not entirely certain what the last two items that Iron picked up were. Did you catch either of those?
Well, it sounded like that last item was rubies, but I did not see what the third item was.
Oh wow, Spiffers finds the ice rod in Pyramid. So this is a low percentage check that a lot of people will skip, or at least won't go to early. If for any reason Iron forgets that, that's a great chance for Spiffers to get back into this.
Oh, absolutely. And with the knowledge that Spiffers also has that Quake is on Bumper Ledge, if Turtle Rock ends up being Quake required, it's a definitely good information on his part.
It looks like Iron finally found a shield here in Ice Palace. Gonna make his way down to Cold Stare, hopefully remembering that there are fairies if you drop down from the room north of where you fall off. Well, what's our favorite lake monster got today? I think he just loves us.
And Spiffers opting to go there. Grab it. I don't blame him.
Yeah, one nice thing about heart pieces is that if you have 3 and you're in a difficult dungeon, sometimes you're just going to pick up that 4th and get a full heal right when you need it. So if they come up to Turtle Rock later, for example, and they find like a heart piece right before the chomp room, I mean, that's about as clutch as it gets.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. Nice quick, you need a full magic bar to get Cold Stare down and do opting it. Gotta watch out, Cold Stare does hit hard even with red mail, so using his blue potion there.
I'm impressed by the gutsiness to go after the fight without having a full magic bar, or not full magic bar, full health bar, because there was an opportunity to heal there, but knew he had a blue potion anyway. Ends up getting all the damage he needs. He's gonna be able to finish off this last puff pretty easy.
Nice gutsy move, able to do it, gets the key for his troubles. That's alright, and Spiffer going into pod.
Yeah, this is a costly time sink as far as, you know, completion of the dungeon goes, but it is possible we'll find another item that we need. If it happened to be, say, ether, and we ended up needing ether for Turtle Rock, that would be a great thing to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. Technically, there is 5 items you can get here. I mean, obviously some could be bow locked, and it is. Having a big key there, he cannot go into the rest of the dungeon. So it is bow locked, so we know that you have to go to Ice Palace before here. Hopefully he makes that heads up play himself.
Now, the good thing, though, about that being bow locked is he finds that out almost immediately. So, I mean, it's not like we're going to sink a whole lot of time into going there. We've opened it up for later. We don't have to pay Kiki twice.
Actually, I just realized he still needs to go to Skull Woods and get his Titan's Mitt, so he can't go to Ice at the moment.
Yeah, pretty low on places to check. At this point, it looks like he's going after the Hera basement, because I can't think of anything else he can do up here.
We gotta hope he realizes that he miscounted the items in Skull Woods and makes his way back.
Yeah, because right now Spiffers is pretty close to hitting a wall. There is still Spike Cave. He has 1 lift upgrade and the hammer and enough magic and burn us, so I think he can do it. He'll probably check that on his way back down. So it's not a bad routing decision to do both of these at the same time. It actually does make sense. We have good reason at this point to think it's probably not super valuable, though.
No, I don't blame him. Instead of just roping in the 1 item in Hera Basin, he can rope in 2. Always 2 items is better than just 1, so don't blame him for this either. But now Iron, with bow in hand, is able to check in full clear pod if he knows the dark rooms.
Looks like Spiffers is going to take a coffee break to try and contemplate his decisions, hopefully looking over his tracker at this point, trying to think, hey, what do I remember actually getting? Since we brought it up earlier, that potion glitch that we can use to bypass this room that Iron's in, just to kind of explain it, since, you know, folks out there might be kind of curious as to what we're talking about. Using a potion actually dislodges the camera if you're in the room before. The game has some very complicated things going on underneath it. Oh, we got a piece of heart in the basement of Hera. But so you can basically manipulate it so that the camera for the room where those mimics are doesn't track properly, and you can put the enemies off camera to give yourself a way to open the door for free.
Absolutely. I personally have not tried it out myself yet. I haven't had a chance to really route it in, but it's definitely a nice trick that's been found that you can utilize.
Yeah, mechanically it's really easy to do. You just kind of have to see it done, and then you kind of see how it works. But once you've done it once or twice, it's pretty easy to do. Although explaining it, I would say, is much more difficult. I really only glossed over it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Also, Spike Cave was a bust. At this point, what does Spiffers think to do? He's literally sitting at the menu screen, not sure what his next choice is.
Yeah, maybe unfortunately mistracked Skull Woods. Maybe he clicked an item off. He's using an item tracker that has the chest number in, but he's got to try to figure out. He's going to 3, so hopefully this is a good shot here.
Remembering, of course, he doesn't have those Titan's Mitts yet, so he can't really take the fast way to the portal. But on the bright side, this will put him closer to Skull Woods and more inclined to go that way, because he also can't go through that direction again when he goes through the portal. So that would point him back into the forest, hopefully.
Oh, we're getting a hammer jump here from Iron, trying to set it up here. Gutsy play, you usually do not see it in standard randomizer. Unfortunately, doesn't get the pixel lined up.
Yeah, he does have one more shot at it without dying, but if he falls off the ledge, he will die. So he's just going to go right to the back. Hammer Jump's really difficult. It's two Y coordinate pixel perfect placements, both the bomb and Link in two different spots. Not only that, but the bridge is collapsing, so you have a very small window to do it. A lot of people will use pause buffers to get it, or even select buffers to line up the shot perfectly. And there are a number of visual cues people use. Sometimes you see people do it bufferless, but Iron's going to check these two chests in the basement. We can't see what they are yet.
And Spiffers is in the location, knows what he's got to do, just trying to set up the bomb jump, and I think he's got it there. He does. He's going to get his Titan's mitts and finally knows where he can go after this.
He knows he can't spend any time reacting to it with sword slashes, knowing that this is definitely a deficit in his exploration. Now, where he goes next is interesting. He's going to opt to go to Dark Death Mountain first. Oh, no, actually, he's just using Death Mountain as a portal. Looks like Iron actually died in Palace of Darkness, so he's going to have to walk all the way back.
I think he took an intentional death there just to refill his hearts to try to line up that hammer jump a little bit easier. I'm thinking that he might not be as comfortable in that dark room, so hopefully he can do it from the bottom and not from the top.
Yeah, top hammer jump does give you more time to set it up, but it's more punishing if you mess it up because you can't walk back down that same path. But so we're going to get some pause buffers here. He's got the lineup on the sword correctly. Oh, he went down a little too far there. One thing of note that people out there who are trying to do this would want to know, Link's walking animation when you move in cardinal directions, up and left, start at 2 pixels per frame. So if you're trying to advance the game by 1 frame at a time, that's how far he'll move when you do that. And down and right goes 1 pixel per frame at the start of the animation. Normally it alternates between the two. So you can use that to line yourself up. Moving in a diagonal only moves 1 pixel per frame. And with all of that knowledge, it looks like Iron was able to get across the gap with a perfect bomb jump. Took a few extra buffers, but it's better to make it.
And with the heads up play, use the boomerang, get that heart, even though that extra piece of heart just filled his hearts all the way. But I like that play by him.
Yeah, it's not an easy boomerang to hit either. Only going to get a big 20 for it, though. That's rough. I mean, he might be able to find his way to the other chest in here. It looks like he's trying to.
I think it is a little bit easier going down and up. You don't have to worry about too much turns and able to get to that top chest. See if he gets up there now. But Spiffer is making the desert play now. Don't mind him doing this. That's the next just bombs up there for Iron, but that would be 2 pendants done, and hopefully this will lead him to Ice Palace eventually so he can get that bow.
Yep, these are pretty quick checks to make. He was already in the Mire area, so it makes sense to do it. Now, we found out that it was, of course, boot locked. Looks like Iron's going to take a death in the Dark Maze, but that's probably an intentional death warp at this point. Yeah, so far Desert's only given us 300 rupees. We knew there was 100 on the ledge, but there's still a couple items we can check here. Big key was on the torch, so we've already checked that big chest.
So the good thing to note, if they do not find this lamp, if Spiffers is a little bit more comfortable in his dark rooms, he might have a little bit, he could probably pick up a little bit more time here from the amount of time that Iron has just dipped into that dark maze. Not an easy. I don't blame him at all. It's not easy if you don't practice it enough.
But he was able to get all the items, and that's going to, again, be that information advantage that we were talking about before, that peace of mind. Not having to worry about, hey, did I leave something here? Because if it was something important that they didn't know they needed yet, it would be quite a time investment to get back here.
Absolutely, and unfortunately, Iron still has not made that northern graveyard check, so does not have the silver arrows. And silver arrows for a lot of these bosses that he's fighting, and Helmasaur not as much, but definitely add for quicker kills because once that mask comes off, it only takes one silver arrows hit. With Master Sword, I think it takes 3 spins or 8 slashes, and then with arrows, I believe it takes 10 arrows.
Yeah, you had that almost right. It's just 4 spins, which are the equivalent of 8 slashes. But you could also use hammer. You could do 4 hammer hits, which are really hard to do. You'll see that in NMG runs actually all the time. People really love to do that. But by holding your sword out, you can extend the hitbox of the hammer. It's just something that's very risky. But with red mail and this many hearts, you wouldn't be surprised to see runners try it. As far as the number of arrows needed, I think you were right about that, but it would be pretty close to that if not. So this would be an interesting fight to watch. Now, the nice thing about having this fire rod is this turtle room becomes way less difficult. It's a saving grace in this situation for Iron.
Absolutely, but oddly enough, did it from the bottom. Usually, if you come into this room and you just hold the left until you see yourself go on a diagonal, you can then shoot the fire rod down to get that torch, but made it all the way to the bottom and did it that way.
In the meantime, SpifferstheGrand paying attention to the concert stage for the Aerosmith concert. Gonna go pick up his purple chest on the way. Not quite Purple Rain or anything, but that'll at least get him to the desert to turn that in. I don't think we had anything of value there, but here comes the Helmasaur King fight. Man, it's really nice to watch a fight like this because I've been doing a lot of NMG commentary lately where you don't take 2 hearts of damage from from all of these attacks. It's so much easier.
Oh yeah, try and do MNG runs, and Helmasaur has been the bane of my existence.
But it looks like Iron's going to pull out that bow and put it to good use. We haven't had much use for it so far in this run. Our prize is going to be the magic cape.
Wow, that's definitely good to know, but again, Iron has not checked that. Hopefully that does push him in that direction, and we'll see if he actually mirrors here and gets the green pendant so he can go check what Sahashala has, because we're still not in go mode yet.
Yeah, absolutely, and we don't really even know whether or not that book is required. That's still up in the air. So looks like we are going to go to the back of Eastern Palace. We are there, and that does give us an item. It looks like Iron's just playing the safety route here.
Absolutely, and Spiffers is in Ice Palace, gonna get his bow, gonna be happy about it. But I unfortunately didn't see where that happened, but Iron apparently has the Ether Medallion.
Oh, okay, so that must have been one of the couple of items that we kind of missed. Props to our tracker for catching that. Speaking of which, our tracker today is casting Moan, or Moen, apologies if I did that wrong, and our restreamer is Iceman F1. Give them a follow, they're pretty cool folks. Well, it's time to see the Eastern Palace back half dark rooms. This is actually one of the more challenging dark rooms because there's a lot of enemies in there. Some people will opt to use the fire rod, but it looks like Iron is not going to wait for anything here. And I think, yeah, gets all the way through with no problems. Clearly has practiced that room.
Yeah, good for that. But knowing if you're not sure, and I unfortunately did not figure it out myself, but the minute you walk through that room, straight ahead of you is a torch. So if you just use either two fire rod blasts to kill the popos and then light the torch, or just slash the popos and do it, you can light the room really easily.
For a moment there, I thought Iron was going to forget to grab extra arrows. Has just enough to finish off the Armless Knights, but we'll pick up more just in case. Setting up for the top right fast kill, you got to pump 5 arrows into the top left corner and just mash arrows down, but was a little too far to the right. with the lineup, so actually he's going to have to default to just a regular recovery strategy against Armless Knights. Not a big deal, but a little more time intensive.
And a lot of, if you watch a lot of Randomizer, getting a blue goo bottle for his troubles. But if you watch a lot of Randomizers, these runners do make that look so easy, and it's not as easy as it looks. A lot of it is just within a couple pixels of each other to set up, and I personally cannot get it every single time.
One of the biggest challenges with the fast kill for Armless Knights is if you spam the bow item. As it turns out, there's a little bit of delay between when Link charges up the bow and actually shoots it. And on top of that, you can only have one arrow on the screen at a time. So it's actually something that's better to time rather than mash. And the timing of that is kind of hard to pick up. Definitely something that's worth practicing, because if you use, like, say, the practice hack and just kind of play through that fight a bunch of times, you'll get a better feel for it. But yeah, that's definitely one of the underrated quick kills. You know, it's not as easy as it looks.
And Sasha Salami just giving us a whole bunch of hearts there. Whole bunch of love.
Yeah, just a big old heart container from Sriracha sauce, and the green pendant not proving to be all that useful. So it remains to be seen if that cape's going to have any value for us. We already have Cane to Burn Us, so we don't need the invulnerability stuff out of it. But that book is ultimately what we would be there for.
And Iron still not making that play. Is gonna do Dark Death Mountain. I like this. It's probably the highest density point for him. And if Turtle Rock is in fact Ether, can make the dip.
Yeah, so it would seem then that Iron's gonna check all these items and figure out whether or not that's the required medallion. I think it's a really smart tactical decision to make. I agree with what you're saying about item density, but not only that, the information to know whether or not it's even worth chasing down that book in the first place.
Showing. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say he was showing the nice hookshot strat in there. Another little trick that runners make look easy. And it's not the most easiest thing to do either. It's a lot of timing and certain pixels to be on as well.
Yeah, it looks like the Super Bunny Cave didn't give as much, but those hookshot clips, there's a couple of other instances where you can do it, like the dam is a good example. But yeah, those are very precise. While a block is moving, it turns into a sprite, according to the game, and that's why you can do stuff like mirror block erasure and hookshotting through things, but the window is very tight. So we're going to get a hookshot cave check, and that lamp is going to be actually technically accessible with boots even without the hookshot. But we're going to get the powder and bombo. This is a huge cave. And yet another heart container. So holy moly, that was a lot.
Definitely a lot of items there. What a cave. So that being said, if Lamp was in Hookshot Cave, Hookshot, you needed the boots, you needed the fire rod, you had to beat Skull Woods in order to make your way up here in order to do any of the dark rooms, include beating Eastern and Pot. So it's kind of not a weird item chain just to beat those dungeons in Logic.
Yeah, and from what we could see there, Quake was not required. That means Aghanim 1 is not required, and Book is probably not required. I don't think there's any items that we're still missing that would be needed. Are we in Go mode?
I think we are in pseudo no mode, go mode, something or other. Once
We do still have that, Ice Rod.
But Spiffers did find the Ice Rod, so.
Speaking of Spiffers, he's in a tough bind here. He has no extra magic or health to work with for this Cold Stare fight. He's got to be very careful. And he's going to go for hammer strats. That's really gutsy.
Unfortunately, takes the death from the falling ice. Will quickly make his way back.
Yeah, that's tough because, you know, with no magic, he can't even really get back into the dungeon. So I would think he's probably going to go pick up a bunch of potions at this point.
Yeah, if we got big, go pick up a couple potions, but opting to have that bow in hand, he now probably would make the other plays himself, maybe go into pod or make his way up to Death Mountain. If he does, at least he'll find the lamp for himself.
Oddly enough, Spiffers did forget to restore his magic, so he probably should have. If you end up watching this later, Spiffers, you should drink the green potion, then fill it with blue. However, he doesn't really need magic here in Palace of Darkness, so if his intent is to go all the way to Helmasaur King, he's actually going to save some time by not drinking that potion, because he'll get that refill anyway from the boss. So this might just be like a 200 IQ play that I didn't see through right away. So, Spiffers, if you're watching this later, my apologies.
Now, I forget where Ice Rod was, so Iron is going to do full clears of each of these dungeons.
It was Pyramid Fairy.
Right, it was Pyramid Fairy. So, Mire being one of the longest dungeons in not go mode, and only 2 items, probably one of the worst dungeons to go through.
Yeah, so this is actually quite a lot of time for Spiffers to catch up here. I mean, and particularly since Iron's going all the way to the big key chest, or the vanilla big key chest, and actually having some issues with the fire block puzzle, which is potentially going to have him do it twice. Definitely some time for Spiffers to catch up here. Chat's also pointing out that Iron might not ever go for those silvers, seeing as there's not a whole lot of reason to go get that book at this point. Or at the very least, he doesn't know that there's no reason yet. He will find out if he finds that Ice Rod first, but if he doesn't, he may end up getting the book and checking both tablets before even doing Pyramid Fairy.
Absolutely, and unfortunately, Big Key was in his vanilla location in Mire, so you're gonna have to wait that, you know, pseudo 35 seconds, whatever it is, for that room to load.
Yay, cutscenes. Doesn't opt for the spark gamble in the main room, so going to save a little bit of health there. Oddly enough, Iron actually has the number of hearts you would probably have in a normal NMG run, but will get rewarded for his big key search with a tempered sword. So, yet another weird item location that could potentially give Iron a reason to be, well, I guess ahead at this point in terms of his ability to clear dungeons.
Absolutely, and having that tempered sword in there is a huge advantage for Iron, even though he most likely not going to have those silvers, but Master Sword opposed to Tempered Sword Ganon fight is a huge difference.
Yeah, you would have to do sword spins if you have Master Sword. Tempered Sword is kind of the way that, you know, NMG runners are familiar with it, and probably the most practiced Ganon fight in all of the Zelda, whether you're playing Randomizer or, you know, NMG. So it's a more familiar territory for a lot of folks. Spiffer's having a little bit of a beetle party down there. He may have forgotten, though, that if you step too far away from a bomb, it actually despawns. So he's going to have to do the whole thing again, actually. Oh, never mind. He stayed close enough to it. I thought he was too far away. If you're more than half a room away is when it despawns. Looks like Iron is pretty close to that Vidi fight, though. Has a few different options to work with. Tempered Sword makes the damage boost strats actually way more appealing.
Absolutely. With Tempered Sword, you can either use the Cape or Cane of Burna and do dash strats, or decide if you use Cane and do slashes while the Cane is being activated, and slash while you have it, it actually will last a little bit longer.
Looks like you're absolutely right about using the cape to just kind of stand in front of these. It's kind of hard to do sword spins against these because they tend to poke your sword and you kind of lose the charge. But it looks like we're going to get a pretty easy breezy 2-cycle out of Vitreous here. Just going to pump 8 arrows to finish off the last phase of it. Oh, we don't have 8 arrows, so we're just going to do some tempered sword spins.
It gets it done nonetheless, but still, running out of arrows, he is going to have to farm some arrows. He needs some arrows for at least Ganon's tower.
Yeah, so there's a couple different places you can get some, although not really any convenient places to stop either. Potentially in Ganon's tower you can get some, so that's probably going to be the one thing he'd be banking on. But it looks like it's going to be straight to Turtle Rock, but we don't have that ice rod, so he's going to check desert first.
You know what? And if he makes that straight to Turtle Rock play, I wouldn't fault him for it. If you think about it, I've seen more like 8 out of 10 seeds ice rods in Turtle Rock. It just trolls you that way. It's one of the last spots most people look, and it can easily be in that dungeon. So I wouldn't blame him for trying to do it himself.
Not only that, but there's so many items in the dungeon that, you know, compared to other checks at this point, it seems like the highest density play. Although it makes sense to go to desert here, we can get these items very easily, very quickly. There is still the long shot possibility in Iron's mind, though, that that book could be pedestal, that pedestal could be, you know, something important like Ice Rod. May opt to even kill Lammolas here, but I think we would probably avoid that since it's so easy to get back here later anyway.
Absolutely. If he also decides to go to Turtle Rock and does the dungeon and finds that Ice Rod's not there, could probably opt to go to Hera. He has not gone to Hera basement yet neither. That's got to be in the back of his mind.
And it is possible to leave a portal in the back half of Turtle Rock by basically jumping off of the ledge you can mirror from for the bombable safety door. That is one way that you could get around it, but we would have to go back to the Dark World to get the Ice Rod anyway. So there's no way to avoid, you know, a long double dip if he ends up going to Turtle Rock.
Meanwhile, Spiffers is having a little bit of trouble here in these dark rooms.
Yeah, he did really well with the dark maze, but right now, you know, looks like he's having some trouble kind of navigating his way out of it. I saw him get the first item very quickly, so I think he's trying to go for the top right exit. Also of note, folks, if you are in this tournament, if you are considering playing this game in race format, you know, of any kind, it is actually legal, completely legal, to have a dark room map open on your computer elsewhere. If you want to navigate by that, if you want to just kind of figure out where you are, where you're going. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. If you don't know the hammer yump, you know, just have one of those. Oh, so it looks like we are going to get the book from Iron. Do you think we're going to get a pedestal check?
I wouldn't blame him finding this book. This is probably what Spiffers needs to help catch up, because now it's going to be long locations. Iron most likely will get this book, go check those tablets, check what's on the pedestal, and since he'll be up on the mountain checking the tablet, he'll probably go check the basement. This is probably the best thing for Spiffers right now.
You know, Admirudgy in chat mentioning that we're going to be going on a goose chase. You're absolutely right. We're going to be using that flute several times, and the goose will be loose, sending us across Hyrule, but we are not going to find much of anything. I can't imagine there would be any value behind these tablets unless it was like a gold sword. Or maybe another bottle. Ooh, but it looks like Iron's going to check north of the light and dark world, so that will give him silvers,
which definitely is a plus for him. So if Iron does find that last sword upgrade on these tablets, that means Spiffers is going to have to do Master Sword Ganon, which is going to be a lot longer. And now that Iron's going to have Silvers on there, that's now the worst thing that could happen to Spiffers.
You know, there's not a bad chance of Spiffers still getting the Tempered Sword from Misery Mire if he decides to not go mode it. You know, if he wants to just make sure he gets those items, knowing that he has, you know, Master Sword. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get it, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him miss it. Both are definitely things that runners an hour and 40 plus minutes in would consider making the choice of. Although Spiffers does not have his Bombos yet. I'm trying to remember where Bombos was. Oh, it's in Hookshot Cave. Oh, that's a long way to go.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you're in Iron Shoes, you probably go and check Bombo's tablet first, right?
I would think so. It's not exactly quicker. Technically, if he goes up the mountain, if he wants to do both tablets, probably would make sense to go that rate first, so he doesn't have to make a double dip up onto the top of the mountain. But if he's thinking he wants to just go and check the most locations, I would think he'd go up the mountain first, get those 2 items, and then make his way towards Turtle Rock. But I wouldn't blame either play from him.
I'm kind of curious as to where he's going now. Oh, he's going to Thieves Town. Okay. In the meantime, Spiffers did make it all the way to Helmasaur King, doing some pretty brilliant navigation while we were kind of contemplating the fate of tablets. With the Silvers, should have a pretty easy finish on the second phase here.
Absolutely, and to note that he did not have any magic in that mini turtle room, so he did that whole room blind, which is definitely a feat that most runners can't do. I know I can't do.
Same. Although if you are used to doing the normal like vanilla execution of that room, you know, you can just kind of feel it out if you're like muscle memories on 10. But if it's not on the 10s, then, you know, it's very difficult to kind of feel your way through there. You kind of have to just use audio cues.
Now Spiffers does get his cape. We'll see if he gets the book, or decides to go on top of the mountain, or even finish Eastern Palace here, which looks like he's doing.
Wow,
Nice.
maybe not. I was convinced he was going to do the same thing.
He got that cape. He's going to get that book. All right. Don't blame him. Since he does have to make his way up to Dark Death Mountain and go Hookshot Cave, he can rope in that tablet up there, so I wouldn't blame him for doing it.
And if that was a sword upgrade, that would be a colossal move for him to make. Because having that Tempered Sword, you can go mode Misery Mire once you've got that big key. And then even if you get the gold sword, you know, it's just a nice little icing on the cake.
And while both these runners are doing similar checks the other runners have done, if you guys enjoyed what you watched today, they've done an amazing job entertaining us. Please follow these runners. They're both excellent runners, even though 1 and 3, they will do still entertaining. I believe both these runners will go to the end, like most of the community. It's just fun, and it takes a lot to put yourself out there. So please follow these runners if you like to see more.
Yeah, and I've seen good races out of both of these runners already in the tournament, so I'm very excited to see how this one's going to conclude. As we talked about before, you know, they're likely statistically eliminated from the tournament, as we are personally, both of us. But, you know, it's all about the fun. You know, it's about playing as much randomizer as you can, and hopefully even getting a chance to do it in front of a lot of, you know, exciting, entertained, you know, community racers and participants. as I know a lot of you are in the tournament as well, many of you are watching, by all means get into this. It's definitely something, it's worth the fun. It might seem a little frustrating for the runners on their end, but it's also a race. So, they're trying their best to not be the last one to not done here.
Now, seeing that Spiffers did just grab the book and is making his way up, the question is, does he dip Turtle Rock? He's good. He has Ether. He has everything he needs to have to beat it before he makes his way down to Misery Mire.
The nice thing is that he will have an opportunity to go to Hookshot Cave if he thinks about it before going into actual Turtle Rock. If he goes there first, that's kind of a bad choice. As we know it, at least. Oh wow, very convenient magic potion is going to be on the ether tablet. Looks like Iron's going to carry this one all the way through for the blind fight, though. Having pretty similar experience that Spiffers did, actually. Just having a little bit of difficulty in the second phase. One thing to note, folks, if you're fighting blind and you're not sure how to kind of like anticipate these shots, every fourth fireball that each head shoots will track Link's position, so you only have to move that often.
And you pulled that knowledge out right when I was about to pull that knowledge out, so thank you for that.
I'm reading your mind. I wish I could read the seed.
It definitely is. Wish you could read the seed. And you get seeds like when Jet can beat it in 54 minutes, whatever it is, and some that just take a couple hours.
Well, hey, it looks like we were right about Turtle Rock. He's going to open up Turtle Rock and then check Hookshot Cave first. We know that this is a very fortuitous decision to make. There goes his lamp. He's going to pick up magic powder as well.
And Iron's going to do the pedestal check. Although we know pedestal is dead, get your pedestal hypes in there nonetheless to see what we got. I bet you it's couch cash.
Hour 46. I'm saying arrow upgrade. It's a shield. So with the shield on the floating island, we now know where all of the shields are.
So it's Fisher Price all the way.
Well, Spiffers will make sure he's checking everything. Gonna get the Super Bunny Cave, which is just a bunch of cash, 25 to be exact. And opting to save and quit, so it looks like we might end up getting that Misery Mire play first. Having just picked up Bombos, that looks pretty probable for most folks. I can see why he would make that decision.
And Iron is making the Fat Fairy play, so he's gonna get his Ice Rod and officially put himself in go mode. Spiffers is unfortunately a full dungeon behind, but it could come down to right side, left side Ganon's Tower, so hopefully we'll see where these runners go.
Yeah, I believe Spiffers would be in go mode then too, wouldn't he be?
Yes, he's officially in go mode now too. So Spiffers was in go mode about an hour 45.
And Iron at about almost dropped the bomb. But yeah, right around 148 for Iron. So very close go modes, but as you mentioned, Spiffers is a full dungeon behind here. I'm not sure, he didn't finish Cold Stare, did he?
Oh, I totally forgot about that. That's right. He has to go back into Ice Palace and beat Cold Stare.
So it looks like Iron's going to have a pretty hefty advantage right before 148 being that go mode. We're almost at full Y inventory completion at this point, too. Unfortunately, we do not have the swag net of Destiny, and that's going to be a major impediment to taking on Aghanim 2, unfortunately, but it looks like our runners should be able to handle themselves, no problems. Spiffers is going to do kind of like the standard strategy for Misery Mire. It looks like Iron's going to stock up knowing that this is the final run.
don't blame him whatsoever. Has 3 pots, gonna be able to get 3 blue potions, plenty of safeties. Gonna have tempered sword, going to have red mail, to make his way all the way through.
So with all of these things kind of weighing in Iron's favor, despite having been on, the goose chase to find that ice rod, it would appear that this really is Iron's race to lose at this point. Turtle Rock and Gan's Tower being the only things remaining, and we have 13 hearts between both of our runners with red mail. There's not a whole lot that Spiffers could do to, end up ahead. It would take a number of falls and number of deaths from Iron at this point, I would think.
Yeah, most likely.
Spiffers realizing that it's going to be the big key, vanilla big key location. Iron, in the meantime, about to walk into Turtle Rock. Go mode Turtle Rock, not that much faster than just, full clear Turtle Rock. There's a few rooms that we can skip, but for the most part, they're going to be doing pretty much the exact same thing regardless.
Absolutely, and the only item that Iron would probably hope to find would be the half magic. Other than that, everything else is inconsequential. So
half magic would be a very fortuitous find. Plenty of places where we're going to use magic throughout the rest of the game, particularly through puzzles and the Ganon fight itself, and it's a very nice safety to have for pretty much any situation.
I thought Iron was going to take the chance that Key or Big Key was not going to be on this right side, but decides this just takes the other route there.
Yeah, all things considered, might feel like Iron might feel like that they're in a bit of a lead to be making that kind of decision. Unfortunately, missing one of the torches, so might have enough time with the hook shot. I'm not sure. And squeezes through. Looks like SpifferstheGrand did not opt to pick up that big key chest, and because of that, we'll have to do Master Sword for pretty much the remainder here.
Unless they find a sword upgrade in Ganon's Tower, we're gonna have a Master Sword silver Ganon, but forgetting to hit the switch there.
And I guess there might still be a gold sword here in, or a sword upgrade here in Turtle Rock, but there's only so many item locations left in here. And I don't think we're gonna find that out, because I don't think Iron's gonna stop for, the later stuff.
Oh, but there's our swag net.
Now that we have the swag net of Destiny, Aghanim 2 is a breeze. We can also take advantage of that powder and pick up a fairy or two if we end up using any of these blue potions. So that would be safety for the Ganon refight if we had to.
Oh, absolutely, and having an extra fairy is always nice. You can always know that you can play it a little bit more dangerously than not. But with silvers in hand, Spiffers is making quick work out of Vitreous.
Yep, very easy zero cycle Vitreous out of him. Very impressive kill.
I'm guessing Iron found the big key, opting to leave the vanilla big key chest alone. Hopefully that doesn't bite him in the long run.
Yeah, that could very well be the one item that, Spiffers is looking for, a sword upgrade or half magic. Those are... I don't know, I mean, I can see why you'd skip it if you're technically in go mode. He might be thinking that he's not as far ahead as I thought he was. In the meantime, Spiffers has a bone to pick or a bone to repick with a refight with Cold Stare. In the meantime, Iron is going to go the long way. He's going to check this big key chest on his way through. Unfortunately, we're not going to find out what Mimic Cave has today.
For all we know, that could be the last sword upgrade.
Well, it looks like the gamble paid off with skipping that one vanilla big key chest because we did not run out of keys heading to the basement. However, it is, I think, possible that that could have been a small key and that laser bridge will have nothing for us for that one remaining key. If that's the case, then Iron will be backtracking. But a mirror would put him almost in the exact right position to get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And remembering full magic and 2 heart pieces over there just to grab and top off.
Well, looks like fortune favors the bold. Iron is going to find a small key there. Still no half magic or sword upgrade. Those are the only things worth checking chests for at this point. I suppose you could find a 4th bottle, though. Although we do know that it's at the tablet. Well, this is a pretty standard Trinex fight. We're just going to use Tempered Sword, and we're going to hopefully make sure we switch to the Fire Rod before we finish off the first head. As it turns out, Link does not like to access his menu during explosions. He's a cool guy. He doesn't look at the explosions, or I guess he forces you to look at the explosions. Can't look at the menu. So we remembered to do that. We're going to get a pretty easy 2-cycle Trinex here, as long as we don't spin too early. But with Red Mail, there shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, but still with red mail, Trinex hugs definitely hurt, so you just still got to watch out a little bit. But 1 more slash I think will do it, or 2 more slashes.
Well, the C4 boss himself had a bomb capacity upgrade. I suppose that's kind of fitting. In the meantime, that does put us pretty close to Ganon's Tower. So, folks, you know what time it is. We really love to play a guessing game. This is a great time for you to let us know what you think of the 22 chests that are in Ganon's Tower. Which of them are going to have our big key? Do you have a preference yourself, Azrael?
I like to base it on the seed. The way this seed has been working for these runners, I like to see a nice even 12.
I like it. I'm a fan of Bob's chest, and if we go with relatively traditional routing, that's going to be, I think, 14. Also of note, looks like Spiffers has finished up Cold Stare. With that complete, he's going to head up to Turtle Rock, so we're looking at a 1 dungeon advantage currently for Iron right now. Well, it's time to find out, folks. How is Iron going to approach Ganon's Towers today? We're going right side first, which is pretty standard. We're going to check these 2 chests. So chest number 1 here, that is going to have a small key, which is a good find. He may opt to continue going right, and we get the gold sword.
All right, so gold sword it is. He's opting to go right, so that means Spiffers will be able to have at least a tempered sword for Ganon, so no master sword fight for him, which is nice. But Iron gonna make quick work hopefully out of this room. It's got a without half magic, this room could actually be scary, but finding a full magic upgrade there in that pot.
Yep, that's either really good knowledge or just making a good decision with his routing through the room. Sometimes those magic pickups are not always obvious. You can use bombs in this room, so it's okay if he runs out of magic. And the gold sword is going to make these mummies way easier to kill, too. So if you're ever in a jam when you have a gold sword, you have a lot of outs. Chest number 3 is arrows. Chest number 4 is bomb capacity. 5 is compass. And 6 is 300 rupees. Looks like we're just going to steal the key from this side and mirror out. I almost thought for a second he's going to go full right.
Yeah, you don't usually see full rights because there's not many. Up and 7 is a piece of heart. Grabbing that piece of heart and good knowledge of his heart piece counts because he just filled his heart containers.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier and ended up actually paying off. He was going to try and flute the hammer peg there, though. He may have been a little excited about his good fortunes. But Rip Bob, first and foremost, item number 7 was the death of him. We're going to check the next 4 here. 8 and 9 are just going to give us some health, not Sanctuary Heart. 10 is going to be a bomb upgrade, and 11 is going to be another piece of heart. So we're not finding it yet. Quite a few places left in the dungeon to check. All of the fast ones we've just finished. Having a little bit of difficulty with the hookshot room here just because of some weirdness with hitboxes. But chest number 12, I believe, I don't think I'm losing my count here. 12 is a mushroom. So while we have no real reason to leave Ganon's tower and we already have the powder, we're not going to have to do fake powder. That's a pretty worthless find at this point. While Iron's looking for the next set of items over by Bob's room and, of course, the Ice Armos, Spiffers will be going through Turtle Rock, having a little bit of difficulty with Chomp Room, but manages to get through no problems after taking 1 hit.
There's chest number 14 not being there, so we're going to see 15 through 17 in this next room. 15 through 18, if I can actually count.
Well, there's our half magic. 16, 17, and 18 all having nothing, though. Wow, so we are very, very well equipped for our Ganon fight.
You usually don't see a frustration Silver Arrows throw there, but he did it, and Spiffer's checking the vanilla big key and just being a small key, so if he holds on to that, then that means he won't have to do Laser Bridge.
Oh, and I think Chad was right. I think that was 14 through 17 in that room. I had miscounted earlier, so we're going to have 18 right here, and then 3 behind Ice Armos.
Very true.
Well, this was the one that I was trying to pick, and it was unfortunately not the one. So we're going to have something between 19 and 22. Let's figure out what the next 3 are going to be after this boss refight. Armos on Ice. Get your tickets now, folks.
Ice makes everything more difficult, so we have 19, 20, and 21 in here, and let's see. 19, no. 21 it is. 20 it is. I can't count.
Yeah, so the chest was 20. There's only the tower room left after that. With that, we have the 1 key that we're going to want to bring with us upstairs. So if you guessed 20, you have God Vision, apparently. I do not. Congratulations. We just like to play this game for fun here in the Randomizer channels, but you have amazing guessing if that was you. So if it was you, you win our amazing eternal gratitude and love. We hope you participate in the next one as well. In the meantime, though, it's time to head up to the gauntlet. So we're going to see Iron here take advantage of silver arrows and some pretty crafty sword slashes to try and get him lined up. There's 2 rooms of this, so this is why we need the bow actually to complete the game. There are ways that besides this room you wouldn't need the bow, but there are no other ways to kill those mimics.
Absolutely, and if we're gonna play by the Price is Right rules here, 19 is the closest without going over to 20, and so the count, you win our gratitude, being the first to guess 19.
In the meantime, looks like while Iron kind of stutter steps his way through Ganon Ball Z, we'll see on the next episode whether or not he manages to beat Frieza. But SpifferstheGrand is going to do some traditional laser bridge skips, which I am a big fan of. It takes less magic and less time if you're good at it. Doing a better job than I would have, honestly.
And I don't mind him checking both of these. He's hoping that there's going to be a sword upgrade here. Meaning that he did make his way over here to get a small key that I wasn't paying attention, but he most likely skipped the big key chest.
Yeah, it would appear so, because he has the same key count.
So that means he's going to have a little bit more hard time on Trinex. Going to have to do some menuing to the hammer here. But the way he's been playing, I'm sure he's practiced this before. So
the only alternative he can use is he could try to burn them down with both, the rods, and use like a blue potion to try and avoid some extra menuing. It depends on how you want to go with it, but it looks like you're right. He is going to use the hammer here. Looks like Iron had very little difficulty with Lammo's 2 refight, using that buttered sword for quite a lot of damage there.
Yeah, absolutely. And personally, if I was going to switch to hammers in this, I would go the ice head first, just because you have the chance, he didn't do it here, but have the chance of him spewing ice on the ground, and at least with the fire head, the flames will dissipate.
Well, it looks like we ended up getting a blue potion use anyway out of Spiffers. So with full health, should have very little trouble finishing this up. But the Master Sword is pretty weak. He may end up switching to Hammer. I'm not sure if he's comfortable doing that. Yeah, the hitbox is relatively forgiving for Trinex, so I mean, you can actually pull off hammer hits better than most bosses.
Alright, Iron taking care of not despawning the dungeon. Very good.
Still gonna have to check these chests. Not exactly sure what we were looking for. Might have been trying to get a key out of that one instead of killing the mini Helmosaur. I'm not entirely sure there.
Me neither.
Could be looking for a heart container, like the elusive Sanctuary heart. We never confirmed or denied whether or not that actually happened. And of course, remembering to grab the hook shot, because not everybody in the world can hover.
At least consistently, no one's Andy.
Also, it looks like we do have confirmation that Sankheart was in Hookshot Cave. Thanks and shoutouts to the RC in chat for noticing that the health was refilled. And we're going to sprinkle some powder on the validation chest. Moldorm 2 Big 20 vanilla chest is going to just get some magic treatment, but that's a little disgraceful. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that or if I'm, a little bit mortified.
Very true. And that room, I hate that room. Giving him Iron a little bit of trouble, but finally gets through.
looks like Spiffers is going to make the same routing here in Ganon's Tower. In the meantime, we got this Aghanim 2 fight. It's kind of weird to explain this without explaining Aghanim 1, but so there's a 50-50 chance that the real Aghanim 2, or the one that isn't, you know, faintly colored there, you know, will shoot a blue ball. But other than that, all 3 of them will shoot energy attacks at you. You want to hit them all back towards the real one. It takes 6 total hits to get through. Looks like it's going to be, I think, a 3-phase or 3-cycle out of Iron there. Which is a very good fight.
Yeah, very good, and Spiffer's getting through those Gibdos, giving a little trouble there.
Oh, so it looks like I was corrected. It was 4 cycles. He missed, he didn't get any on the 3rd. All right, well, Iron will jump into the Ganon pit right at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So we're going to get the Ganon fight with gold and silver. This is basically the 2nd-gen Pokemon fight. I mean, the Man-Bear Pig fight. I mean, I don't know. Is there a better? Is this Whizpig?
Yes, wait, I don't know what you would call him in that, but nonetheless, it takes 6 slashes per phase with the gold sword, and then with the silver arrows. But Iron making quick work here.
Yeah, the very, very easy 1-1 cycle. With Gold Sword, it's just pretty much trivial. The only way that you can miss it if you know what you're doing is to, like, miscount it, which I have done. It's not exactly something you normally do. But so with Phase 3, we just need 1 hit per. He's going to jump up off the ground. He does have a 50-50 chance normally in NMG of doing a Warp here. That RNG is consistent for the first fight. If you have to refight him, it does change. But both of our runners will have the same number of Warps.
Unfortunately, he's gonna Mitch Torch Glitch here, but with the items he has in mind, it's not a horrible thing. But for those who don't know, Torch Glitch, the left torch will always go out first, and if you light that torch before you light the right one goes out, the right one will never go out. It will always stay lit.
Yep, a lot of people will just simply forego it when they have this kind of equipment. You know, because you can get a triple, actually, if you have good timing. You can land 3 arrows if he's standing in the center and you're shooting upwards. But you have to be very careful not to fall here. Iron getting really close several times, but he has a chance to finish it up right here.
There you go. He gets the last 2 hits. The pig is now done. He is cooked. He's off the spitter, ready to eat. Gonna make his way across the victory bridge and gets a official speed racing TV time of 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 43 seconds. Please give your GGs in the chat. What a run.
GG and scene.
Perfect ending to that seed.
We'll see if we can get Iron in here for a quick interview in just a moment. Probably going to take a second to contemplate the end scene at the end there. In the meantime, Spiffers is making his way to the Ice Armos fight. Armos on Ice, he's here for the late matinee. I hope you remember to grab drinks and beverages on the way. He will say hello to our favorite friend, Bob. And he's going to brutally murder Bob for the 2 hearts that he can get from it. I'm a little disappointed, but I understand.
That's alright. Bob's cousin over to the left just spawned, so Bob will live forever.
Looks like he had a really good fight there.
Yeah, nice fight. So Spiffers, it is item 21 because he chose to go to the right chest first, so 21 on Spiffer's side.
Just some minor difficulties with these mimics, but Spiffers does manage to get through there. Also, for those of you who haven't seen, Randomizer, or at least haven't played a lot of Randomizer, one of the nice things that changes between these, credits cutscenes, you'll see, like, it'll tell you a little bit about, where the item locations were through the normal cutscenes of the credits. So there's a lot of funny little things like that added into the game. There's even a couple of Easter eggs that the devs put in, and I encourage all of you to try to find them. Some of them, I'll give you a hint on one of them. Some of them are telepathic tiles that you can normally find. Because in the older versions of this randomizer, not all of the Japanese text was removed yet. And a couple of them they decided to just swap out with their own. So there's a lot of little things that you won't normally see in a race setting that I recommend you try and explore. If you're looking for a challenge, try and do a full 100% completion run of a randomizer seed. It's a lot more challenging than you might think.
Meanwhile, it does look like that Iron is in the waiting room. I'll bring him in here for a chat. Iron, GG, what a run, my friend.
GG. That was a fun seed.
Yeah, and the two of you took very different routes through it. If you had to guess, are you already looking at the race stream right now?
I just opened it.
I was gonna ask where you thought he'd be, because yeah, you guys were pretty close by the end of it. Both of you in Ganon's tower at the same time at one point.
Wow. Yeah, he's pretty close. Yeah.
If I recall correctly, you were the only one to check the pedestal. Is that right? You checked it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I checked the pedestal. I think it was a shield.
It was definitely a shield upgrade. Way to go. Spiffers did have the ice rod before you did. We were wondering if you were going to make the Turtle Rock gamble that ice rod was going to be there, but fortunately you did make that Fat Fairy check beforehand.
Yeah, I was kind of scared that was going to be a case. I hadn't found the mushroom and I was like, this could go wrong in many ways. So I just wanted to check as many places as possible before going to Full Rock.
And since we know that it was Pyramid Fairy, if you'd ended up doing that, you would have definitely had to have gone all the way back through Turtle Rock. We may be looking at a different situation right now if that ended up happening. So
Yeah.
it looked like the best, decision of the entire seat.
Yeah, probably. It was kind of scary seeing the medallion right at the start at the Lumberjack Cave. Personally.
Oh, absolutely. We were saying that it had to be in the back of your mind the entire run, thinking that medallion would have to be a Aga play. Fortunately, it was not, but I would definitely be on the seat of my pants the entire time.
Yeah.
So did you have any items that you thought, were really trolley finds in the seed? Something that just seemed unusually out of the ordinary?
Well, not really this time. Like nothing really comes to mind.
All right, I'll ask you a better question. What do you think your best boss kill was?
Oh, my best boss kill. Definitely not. Maybe like Moldorm 1.
You did make really quick work with Moldorm 1 with Hammer, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. That went pretty clean.
Absolutely. Of note too is that you got the lift upgrade from Zora way before Spiffers did, so he was able to make up a little bit more time. But that play by you, we thought was going to be the seed maker.
Oh yeah, it was a good thing that I went back like relatively early to check. Sora, even though I had already checked like everything else in that area. And I didn't have the money before, but I was like, that's maybe something important. Oh, it was a lucky find.
It would almost seem like a lot of your finds were things that, you know, if I was running the seed, I would have messed it up completely. So, I mean, it looks like a lot of really good decisions that were made, you know, that could have been easy pitfalls had you not, you know, done things the way you did. So, I mean, overall, I mean, this is a over 2-hour seed when the game, well, Uncle Tex promised as a sub 2-hour seed. How do you feel about that?
I knew it wasn't gonna be true like from the start. My previous seed was way too good. Like, I have like 3 important progression items at the start in like the castle in my previous seed, so like, I was like, nah, this is gonna be the opposite.
So we have a long 2-week coming up, you know, ahead thanks to the one event, that one live, I think is RPG something. I'm trying to remember because I'm not part of it, but there are quite a few people in the community who will be doing that. You're planning probably to schedule your next match coming up pretty soon, aren't you?
Probably. I don't really know of the event personally. Oops. But yeah.
Did you have a goal in this tournament? I know my goal was to get at least 3 wins, and I need to win the next 2 matches myself. Did you have a goal set for yourself for this these tournament?
I just wanted to play more fun races. Just like when I joined, it was like around when they were doing like the daily races around in summer, and like it's pretty fun. I joined a lot of those, but then they stopped doing it because of the Kisani tournament, and for some reason I didn't think the daily races were gonna stop because of the tournament. So I didn't really join the tournament, so I was like, oh, I wanted to play more games. So this time I actually joined the tournament to play more randomizer races, because they're fun.
Well, so we're pretty rapidly approaching the end of the Ganon fight for Spiffers here. Do you have any other words you'd like to share with the fans?
No, I can't really think of anything other than I had fun. And I didn't really think I messed up anything important. Like I usually do. Last seed I went up Ganon's tower without the small key.
Ooh, looks like Spiffers is going to take a fall in phase 4 of the Ganon fight. So
no.
he'll be climbing his way back up. But yeah, I would definitely agree that, you know, you guys put on a very good show for us today. The best way for you guys to, out there in the audience, to support these runners, as I'm sure, you know, you heard Azrael earlier mention, is to give these runners a follow. They're going to be doing a lot more randomizer action. You already heard it from Iron that, you know, it's not just the tournament. That's, you know, that's not the only fun that we have with Randomizer. So I encourage all of you to give them a follow, you know, check them out. They're going to be doing plenty more, whether it's in this tournament or other tournaments or other just simply daily races above and beyond the tournament itself. With that, though, Spiffers will walk back into the Ganon fight. We didn't mention it before, but that's a good question. You know, the light in the fridge thing. Ganon text being one of my favorite things that have changed, you know, since the vanilla version of the game.
Absolutely. And it's already on to phase 2. We didn't explain the whole thing if you don't know, but with Temper Sword, which Spiffers has, he does not get the sword in Misery and Mire. It takes 12 slashes per stage. It's going to get a 2 cycle on phase 2, but we'll get that done fairly quickly.
And it is possible to get a 1-in-1. It's something very precise. You can use some sword spins to help you with it, but it is pretty RNG dependent, you know, and skill dependent. You have to practice this fight a lot to get to that point. But, you know, a 2 cycle for any of those phases is pretty normal. Not a big deal at all.
And Ganon showing the RNG for having to do a second fight. It's always more trolly the second time around. It's got to be at least 10 here, or maybe more, that he's going.
That's so many warps. Oh no.
Warptropolis over here. Thankfully, he has finished up phase 2, and phase 3 is almost done. He's a little more forgiving in after the first one. So that will put him in phase 4. We'll see if he even bothers with the torch glitch at this point. Looks like we missed the torch glitch, but we're still getting 2 arrows, hopefully, on this lighting of the torches. Might even be able to blue him again. And that should work to get the last hit.
There we go. Ganon is down.
All right, so we got the fanfare going. Looks like SpifferstheGrand is going to finish this up. We have, in just a moment when he crosses the threshold, we'll have the official speed racing TV time of 2 hours, 24 minutes, and 21 seconds. GG's all around in the chat, and of course here in the comms booth. We are happy to see both of our runners finish this race.
Absolutely. He is in the waiting room. We'll pull him in for interview.
And we are joined by SpifferstheGrand. GG, Spiffers.
GG. That was fun.
Yeah, so how do you feel about that race, my friend?
I feel like I'm dumb because I was focusing on the North Dark World instead of, finishing Skull Woods.
Yeah, odd thing is that I miscounted. I thought you got both items, and when I found on Ironside that the mitts was in the big key chest, I thought you might have miscounted too. So I wasn't sure myself.
No, I did not miscount at all. I just forgot. I knew that both items were locked in the back because I knew I hadn't got any items yet, and I was just silly. My only other massive mistake this seed was, of course, not buying potions before I went into Ice Palace. Everything else was fine. It was rando plays. And a lot of it stemmed from not getting the Titan's mitts in the first place.
Yeah, and I also, it took you a little bit to go up to Zora to get your lift upgrade as well.
Well, it didn't take me any time at all. I literally farmed the rupees and went right there.
Oh, then I got you mixed behind. You know what? It's very late for me. It is 2:30 in the morning, so my mind's been going. So I switched both your runs.
I'm gonna assume that that's what we're talking about, because I was the one that I farmed the bush crab after I did the south.
Yeah, right by Mini Moldorm Cave.
Yeah.
All right, so then I apologize then to both of you.
Well, there were a lot of divergences, and that's kind of the point that we're making, though, is that between the two of you, while you did end up kind of routing around to the same places in the same overall progression sequence, you did so in very different directions. In fact, things started really splitting up as soon as the two of you had Dark World access with, Hype Cave in Dark World. That's where things really started to, well, they came together at that point, both of you picking up boots and hookshot almost at the exact same time. But from there, you went in different directions.
Right.
I just went straight into the Swan Pass because I like to get that done early.
Yeah, my Thieves Town play obviously backfired, but that's, as I said, that's just a rando play. That didn't work out, but
and you both ended up going there.
Yeah.
So odd thing we were saying is that lamp location in Hookshot Cave, this seed wanted you to do a super chain to get the boots, to get the hookshot, to get the mitts, to go back up to the mountain, to get the lamp so you can do all those lower dungeons.
Which, to be fair, isn't the worst chain in the world, like, especially given with where it was. It was no Turtle Rock had hookshot to get stuff type of thing. But
I suppose technically you could have actually acquired the lamp without hookshot. It was in the one bonkable chest in Hookshot Cave, but there's no reason you would have gone there without it if you had boots.
Yeah. With boots being in digging game, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not crazy, yeah, okay. So with boots and digging game, and unless you forgot that hookshot was there's literally no reason not to immediately pick up hookshot.
Yeah, and immediately mirrored there.
And that's where we saw, basically, there's like 2 or 3 total high fives. You both of you high five through the portal at Cave 45, and then again at the library.
Right. No, it was a pretty good seed. If I'd gotten those Titans mitts at 40 minutes, like I should have, if not earlier, I don't remember when I was there.
Well, absolutely. Your unfortunate cold stare having to leave out of there. You were actually in go mode first, getting that ice rod and getting all the items you needed. But since you had to take that double dip into Ice Palace,
Ooh.
Yep, no potions hurts when you're only on Master Sword. I also didn't switch to Hammer. I should have just done Hammer in the first place.
All right, so I got a question for you, Spiffers. If you had to guess, where do you think that last sword was?
I'm gonna assume not Tile Room, although it could be. I'm gonna looking at Iron's tracker because I am in the chat. Was it Green Pendant?
No.
Close enough. It was actually a Misery Mire. It was in the big key chest.
Oh, okay. It was one of the two items because both items were on the right side of Mire, right?
Yeah.
yeah, it was I think 20 rupees and the sword upgrade.
Fine by me. I had to do Hammer Trinex, but aside from that, didn't affect. Well, I had to do Hammer Trinex and I had to do Master Sword Cold Stare, but.
Yeah, we were actually not entirely convinced that you were going to have a tempered sword at all until we saw Ganon's Tower. Both Azrael Speed and I were, wondering, hey, has he brushed up on his Master Sword Ganon lately? Even though it's silvered, it's still a pretty tough fight. But thankfully, Ganon's Tower was a bro, sent his sword right where we would have wanted it.
Yeah.
And I've been practicing. I have been practicing it to some degree. Been racing a buddy off, well, semi-offline. And we've had our fair share of Master Sword and/or Silverless Ganon. I don't know what it is with V29 lately and not giving me silver arrows, but.
Well, we also thought that Iron was not going to get the silvers because of his item pool and where he was able to go, but he farmed
they were Graveyard Ledge, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So we were debating, like, you would have had Master Sword but silvers, and he would have had tempered at the time, but silverless, and we were like, oh, and that could be a play.
I took the fall. I'm like, well, whatever. I already lost by a mile, so at least that doesn't matter.
Other than that, though, you did your first tempered fight really well against Ganon. I don't think you even... Was that a 1-in-1 cycle the first time around?
No, I missed the 1-in-1. I don't know how I missed the 1-in-1. I could have sworn I got the damage off I needed to do the 1-in-1, but apparently I just got that last slash in, because I think I got... What would it have been? I would have got 5, 7, 9... Okay, yeah, never mind. It makes sense now, because I only got 5 before he teleported, then I got the one spin double, which would have been equivalent to 9 hits, so I would need 3 more slashes or another double spin to make it a 1-in-1. Because I don't know the trident trick yet. I should probably learn that.
It's not too bad. I recommend holding your sword down when you do it, because then you won't accidentally poke him. But you just got to do a sword spin in between Ganon and the trident, and it'll work every time.
Yeah.
It's not too hard. I learned it today in practice before the race.
You can do it facing just about any direction, but I just want to point out, since we see it on screen now, the collection rates between the two of you. Spiffers, you had 188 out of 216 items, and Iron 180 out of 216. Holy free holies.
Yay, collecting everything that wasn't Titan's Mitts locked. Woo!
Yay, I collected everything.
I literally collected everything. I'm like, well, I have nowhere else to go. What the heck did I forget? And then I'm like, I didn't do the frickin' big key.
Well, I want to say that the Triforce thing at the end where it just says "and seen" is kind of appropriate for this seed. Looks like this was a doozy.
Absolutely. Well, do you guys have anything else about the seed or the tournament in general going on forward here?
Use your safeties, kids. Make sure you have
Yeah. Safeties are good.
Well, Spiffers, you join the 1 and 4 crew with us. We're going to continue and go for that 3 and 4, hopefully, at the end. Iron GG on your 2 and 3, and hope you make
Thank
it to
you.
4 and 3.
Oh, that would be nice.
Well, so just to clue everybody in on what we have coming up here on the schedule for tomorrow, as this is the last match of the evening if you're Eastern Standard Time, as I'm commentating from, or here in the States. Sunday, however, we have an 8 a.m. EDT time match on Speed Gaming 2 between New York Rambler versus Tovad, with Ilyana and Marjevic on the comms. We have potentially a whole lot of races at 1 p.m. I think there's like 6 of them. None of them are currently scheduled for restream, but we have quite a lot of commentators out there. Hopefully, if you're listening, you're signing up. Please, come on, help us out. And then at 2 p.m. is the next scheduled one, Futon versus Jan the Gun at Speed Gaming 4. We'll also have one at 4 p.m. on Speed Gaming 2, The Lost Carol versus Ultimate Dave Live. And the last scheduled match of the entire week is going to be hyphenated versus In the Name of DT on Speed Gaming 3, which I'm signed up for with Sir Link-A-Lot. So I think with that, we should probably wrap things up. I've been Uday Monistic, and I've been joined by...
I'm Azrael Speed. I'd like to thank you everyone for joining us. And as a reminder, we mentioned a couple of times, but please, the best thing you can do is give these runners a follow. As Twitch runners, we love our followers. It gives us the one that really, losing my word because it's 2:30 in the morning, or 2:40 in the morning, but gives us the privilege and the honor of running and entertaining you guys. So follow these runners. And if you like the way we commentated, and we've been going off each other pretty well, I think. I appreciate the Yuta. I had a good time here. But if you like us, you can follow us and our amazing tracker doing an amazing job tonight. Cassidy doing a great job. Appreciate it.
And that restreamer Iceman F1's pretty cool too, so give him a follow. Putting the magic behind the scenes to make this all happen. And thank you to everybody else who's behind the scenes organizing the tournament, the admins as well.
Absolutely. And if you want to see more, please, we're on a Link to the Past Randomizer 1, but there's 4 Link to the Past Randomizer channels. There's Speed Gaming 1 through 6. Give them a follow as well so you can get more randomizer action. Other than that, thank you, Yuta. It's been a great time. I can't wait to sleep some of this off, get my mind back in the running here. But thank you. And anything else before we go?
No, I just want to echo the same sentiments. Appreciate you sharing the mic with me, Azrael Speed. And I think we'll wrap it up with that. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, everybody out there across the world. Zelda 3 fans, Zelda 3 Randomizer fans. Until next time, we'll see you next mission.
Thank you, guys. Good night.